Good morning, friends. Ash here, NPNP News. It's May 24th, 2026. And I've been looking into a lot of different subjects. One of which is, if you remember, we had the Internet of Things, right? Which was that sort of a concept where at some point, right, all these things will become connected from, say, your new refrigerator that you buy in your house is connected to a network, a server that will be notified when the refrigerator breaks or if there's a service is needed, and you won't even need to do anything about it, right? Your whole house will be automated in such a way where the Internet of Things will be communicating with other parts of the web and things like this. It'll all be interconnected, right? That's what they wanted. Well, now we're at the point of the Internet of Nano Things, right? IONT, not the Internet of Things, the Internet of Nano Things. Okay? And part of what having the Internet of Nano Things requires is a massive amount of data. Why? Because it's not only all your data of who you are, what you consume, every email you've ever fucking sent, but it's your entire DNA profile on the computer, on the system. They'll have your whole genome mapped out. That's Gattaca, right? That's Gattaca, right? Where we have every human being's name, we have their whole DNA makeup online, we have your entire work history, we have your entire sales history, what you've bought, what you've purchased, what you own, what your political history is, who your friends are, where you live, where you were born, what your religion is, who you spend time with. We know everything about you down to your DNA profile. That's what these fuckers are doing. It's not about portals. It's not about just having all the information. It's about having every human being's DNA profile, so we can make any kind of human we want now, right? We can make a psychic, super soldier. We can do whatever we want. We've already have the capability, right? If you think about when Dolly was created, if that was really, which I don't think was when they started cloning. So Kim Goguen finally came out, it was like 2 weeks, with a Q disclosure global power shift. She's basically saying Q was all an op, right? It was an op of higher ups to, what was it an op for though? It was to waste time. Right? Because while you're busy going down every rabbit hole these guys are talking about, they're building this thing out, right? They're building out the system that's going to house everybody's DNA on the whole planet. Every animal's DNA, every person's DNA, everything's DNA. So that we can make whatever we want, right? We can make anything we want. Anytime we want. Any kind of human we want. Any color we want. Any flavor we want. Any eye color we want. I think you get the point, right? It's Gattaca, dude. I remember years ago I was saying this is what these people really want. It's Gattaca. That's why they come out with the movie and they show you what they're doing, what they're going for. We want a perfect world. No disease. Everybody's intelligent. Everybody's beautiful. Everybody stays young forever. There's no disease left. Excuse me. We've mapped out the entire DNA profile of every human. I wrote, she outs the entire Q movement as fake, which was what some other people like Tory, Maris, and others were saying, that, yeah, Q's an op. It's not really what's going on. They're telling you some things that make it sound interesting, but a lot of that data we knew about already. Where's the new banking system? That never happened. Where's the EBS that they keep saying there's going to be an emergency broadcast system any day? You think that's going to happen now? I don't think so. We're heading towards a midterms where they haven't dealt with the problems in your voting system. It's about the Internet of Nano Things. I'm going to get into that more in a minute. Then you got the WHO saying, oh, there's an Ebola, and now the Ebola is spreading. This is like the third or fourth time they said, oh, there's Ebola. There's an Ebola problem. Right? There keeps being an Ebola issue. But it's always in the same, was it Congo? It's almost every time it's Congo, and now it's Uganda, they're saying. I said, we can't seem to get rid of these people with these world organizations who are lying to us. One of my readers one of my listeners, my faithful listeners, said, yeah, if you're going to leave, just go. Don't tell anybody where you're going and just vanish. I always thought that was how I'd leave New York. Just get on a bus or a train one day and, no big fanfare, no parties to say goodbye to my friends that I don't have, who are fewer and fewer. No. Just hop on a bus or a train and sail off to some other land or some other place, right? Who knows where? We don't even know. So I guess a lot of us are at a crossroads here who are living in blue cities. I've put in my time over 50 years here in New York. I feel like I put my time in. I've tried my best to love this place, and I have loved this place. I've suffered in this place. I've prospered in this place. I've cried in this place. I've bled in this place. I almost died in this place many times, not just once. So the fact that I'm even still here after 50 plus years, toughing it out in New York, born in the Bronx, New York, boogie down, born in the boogie down, proud to say, a lot of interesting people come from the Bronx. Just go look it up. Of course, the birthplace of hip hop, the birthplace of rap music, if you want to say, right? Trump administration considers a $1.7 billion fund to compensate allies. The other thing that's starting to appear that is very mysterious is some people are calling that Trump wants to make not really a bunker, it's a bowel, it's a bowel room, they're calling it. Not a ballroom, it's a ballroom. That really what he's creating underneath the ballroom is not, a skiff or whatever, or some kind of other pentagon, it's some kind of satanic thing, and it's not good. And I'm starting to believe that, because if it cost $1 billion to build out whatever the fuck it is you want to build on there, that sounds very fishy to me. Yesterday was a particularly difficult day. I'm not sure what's going on, but I do feel like I am being psychically attacked in some way. Not with voice to skull per se, but possibly I have had that before. That was in years ago when they were really trying to get me to kill myself, when I was having, like I said, panic attacks that I couldn't understand how they were happening, but they were happening where they would last literally over an hour, where you're just like crying and you can't move, and it's bad, not really bad. I don't know how I got through those, but I had some kind of help. I think I had an angel helping me all that time, because when I was hit by a car years ago, I felt like when I was in the air, kind of like, whoa, where am I going? I'm going to bust my head open any minute. Now what do I do? Something slowed down, and it is true about that when you have a near-death experience, that or an NDE they call it, where you think you're going to die, or you may die, or you're not sure if your life's hanging in the balance. Like something happens, like everything slows down. It's true. For just that moment. It's almost like in the movies when, they have like some superhero, or like, what is that movie called, with, where he's the equalizer, right? That dude, right? When he goes in the room and he's like, okay, I'm going to like put my timer on, I'm going to kill everybody in this room. How am I going to kill everybody? Like, what's the sequence, the death sequence of every person? How am I going to do it? And then all of a sudden everything slows down. That's true. I mean, I've never gone in a room and done that, but I've been on the other end of it, where my life's in the balance. Keiko Fujimori and Roberto Sanchez advanced to the Peru presidential runoff. So you got a woman who sounds like she's Japanese running for the presidency of Peru. I'm not sure how that works. Was she just a Japanese excuse me, woman who was born in Peru? That could be, but that's rare. So that's interesting. UAE plans second oil pipeline to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. So I just watched, I don't watch too many people anymore, but one person I do watch is Colonel Douglas McGregor, because I do have a lot of respect for him. I think his worldview is on point. I think he's an excellent mind. He's somebody that really Trump should have in his close inner orbit, I think. But of course, Trump doesn't have people like him in his inner orbit. He has sycophants usually around him and stuff like that. But he was making an excellent point about what's really going on, with Russia, China helping Iran to fight the United States and Israel, because it's in their economic interest to one, and it's really turning out now that the United States has lost its power in the world by a lot over this, because it's become evident to most that we can't defeat Iran. Like I said, the only way you can is you're going to have to go in there with troops, and they got a 1,000,000-man army. I don't think we're doing that. We don't have the resources to do it. So our influence is waning in the places that we've sought to maintain control through military bases, and that was partly because the United States was used as the muscle for the sort of trifecta that we know about that exists, right? The Vatican, of course, England, and then you have London, and that square. What do they call that part of London? That's the little square part of London, right? That's a different part of the country. That's the power source, and then you have, of course, the United States, which is the muscle, right? They use as the bully. Because we have long ago had the plates to create money. They can create as much as they want. They just do it on a computer screen now. Justice is coming for victims of dangerous illegal migrant truckers. Well, we'll see. I mean, you get in a bad accident like that, you never fully recover. I got my leg broken by getting hit by a car years ago. I never recovered fully. I can't run. Not like I used to. I used to be like a breeze in the wind, man. When I was a kid, I was so fast, nobody could catch me. The whole neighborhood, nobody could catch me. I should have probably gone into track. I was so fast when I was young. But, I had that frame. I liked to run 5-milers. I was pretty fast. I wasn't running super fast miles or anything. I mean, I never ran a sub 7-minute mile. But I used to love to train track. I used to love to run, just go for runs in the morning when I was young. And then I gravitated more into tennis when I got into my teens, which is just another sport where you're running like crazy. You play a real competitive tennis match, 2 or 3 sets, you could run 5, 6, 7 miles easy. Maybe more, depending on how many long rallies you're in and how long the points go. But Gen Z high school grad tapped as reincarnated Buddhist Lama balances love for NFL with religious studies. Dudes are dudes. This is another fake thing as far as I'm concerned. I don't think that the Dalai Lama is what they're saying he is, personally. Because if he was, he wouldn't be saying to a kid, hey, can I suck on your tongue? Right? If you're a sainted individual, or you're some kind of, whatever you want to call it, right? Some kind of entity that's above man, right? That you want to say that you're some kind of Christed individual, some sainted individual, somebody that's in a higher up, closer to the source, well, then you wouldn't be a pedophile, would you? No. So now they're just trying to make another one, right? And then there's another one, and another one, and another one. But you never have proof that they really have any kind of power. They just might have their third eye open, right? Doesn't mean you're talking with some source that nobody else can talk to. That's when things get bad, right? When you have a group of people that show up and say, hey, we know stuff you don't know. We have people telling us that this is what we got to do. These are what the gods want. Well, how do you know that? That's why people don't like a guy like me around, because I'm always asking too many questions. Why is this going on? Why are you doing that? Why are we doing this? That's the kind of person that gets people asking questions. You can get yourself in a lot of trouble if you don't got the answers, right? New York City developer allegedly bragged about court scam a day before FBI arrest. Hang on a second. This guy is I believe Jewish, who was so convinced that he was going to walk, which means that he has some kind of. This guy is one of the players, right? There's only, like I said, there's about 5 or 6 families that own most of the buildings in the United States. This guy's not one of those players, but one of those families is Jewish, at least, if not more. Then there's a Turkish family, I think. There's some, what was the other one? Turkish. There's at least a couple of Jews, and then you got like sort of the other types, like a Trump type, but not Trump, right? Who owns a lot of buildings also. some family businesses, Tish, stuff like that, right? Where you have it, they're not Jewish, and they own a lot of real estate. But what this guy's trying to do, he was so convinced that he was going to walk in his case. Sam Spray leaves Brooklyn federal court. An accused sleazy, loose-lipped developer boasted that he controlled a Brooklyn courthouse just the day before the feds carted him off to the jailhouse, according to shocking court revelations. Alleged fraudster Sam Spiel thought he had his case so in the pocket, even when a judge with no ties to him was assigned it, after he succeeded in getting 2 other jurors booted from it. That means that this guy, right, is hooked into the Brooklyn courthouse somehow. And in the past was at least given preferential treatment in some way, which has happened in the past, right? Especially in parts of Brooklyn that were historically controlled by organized crime for many decades, right? All of the 5 boroughs were controlled by different organized crime groups, going back to the 30s and before, even when Lucky Luciano creates the commission, right, and creates the 5 families. There was still organized crime controlling different parts of different boroughs over time, right? Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens. As soon as Italian and other groups start coming in here, Jews, Italians, and also, of course, the first big group was the Irish. They all did the same thing. They ganged up. They created gangs, and the Irish were one of the first big ones, and they controlled one of the biggest commodities that was in New York at the time, which was what? Alcohol, beer. Beer and gambling and prostitution. Those are 3 big things. If you control those, you can make a lot of money. Rivera shot back at the defendant in court Tuesday. I thought it means lots of luck because you're going to need it. The FBI ended up busting Spray and disgraced former Brooklyn Judge Edward H. King. So a judge was arrested, which that's a big deal because anytime a judge is arrested. I just wanted to note that story real quick because we were just talking about the last time that there are some sleazy people that will try to move into neighborhoods, whether it's where African American owners or other. Doesn't really matter who. They won't do it to other Jews. They'll do it to anyone else, right? Is the point. And there's people operating that are not Jewish doing the same thing, right? All over the city. So you have to be very careful. When you get into debt, people can buy your debt, right? Then they could buy, if I buy your debt, then I own your debt now. You got to pay me. That's like back in the day when someone bought your VIG, right? Let's say you're a degenerate gambler and you gamble on the horse races or you gamble on basketball all the time and you start losing. Well, if you have a big VIG, somebody might buy your VIG if you're an important person. Why? Because now I control you. You got to pay me. And if you can't pay me one way, you'll pay me some other way. Maybe do me a political favor. Maybe you're in politics. Maybe you're whatever, right? You'll pay me some way. That's control. Cuba's falling. What's all this talk about drones? Somebody is putting drones into Cuba. Who's doing that and why? What's the purpose of it? Well, you're seeing that the United States just put an aircraft carrier down there, right? It looks like they're going to go into Cuba once it falls and take it over again. But what happened when Cuba was run by, let's say, pro-capitalist types? Well, don't you remember the mafia was all up in Cuba in the 50s, right? 40s and 50s. The mafia was deep up in fact, I think one of the families opened up a casino down there. I think it was Luciano. They opened the whole beautiful casinos, right? They had everything you could imagine. It was all beautiful, right? Remember? It was like Florida, but just with casinos. More casinos. Here's something I put out about the Dead Rabbits. Dead Rabbits gang, right? We've talked about them. They're one of the earliest 5 Points gangs out there. This crew of Irish immigrants was one of the most feared gangs to emerge from the 5 Points, so named for its location at the intersection of 5 crooked, narrow downtown streets. For more than 60 years, the 5 Points near modern-day Chinatown was one of the city's most notorious and dangerous neighborhoods. Now you can go like by the Tombs prison is right there. That's an energy node over there for sure. Throughout the 1850s, the Dead Rabbits excelled at robbery, pickpocketing, and brawling, particularly with their sworn enemies, the Bowery Boys. So, yeah, they used to have these big dance halls back then in the day, and you're talking about dance halls that could hold maybe like 700-800 people to 1,000 people in them. Big, it was a big deal. Go to these dance halls, you dance all night, and drink and party and hang, right? Sit down at tables with your friends, and it was a big deal. But these places got super violent, and so they needed very, very like rough, tumble bouncer types to control the crowds, and that's when they used the gangs like the Dead Rabbits. And of course, they began to use these gangs for political control to scare the populace in the 5 points into voting for Boss Tweed or whoever they told them to vote for, right? The group was made up mostly of young men, but it wasn't unheard of for women to join in on the violence. According to legend, one of the most feared Dead Rabbits was Hellcat Maggie. She's in the movie played by what's her name? The blonde actress. Can't remember her name. She's the pickpocket in the movie. A woman who reportedly filed her teeth. No, that wasn't her. That was someone else. Sorry. Yeah, Hellcat Maggie was a different person. She owned a bar, filed her teeth to points, and wore brass fingernails into battle so she could rip you apart with those. And she'd bite you. I think she had a bar later on where she had a jar full of human ears that she had taken off of different people in fights. So imagine you go into a bar and there's like a jar of human ears and like some kind of a liquid at the bar. That's a hardcore establishment, right? You don't want to fuck around in there. You might not get out, right? While the Rabbits mostly dabbled in petty crime, they were also famous for the events of July 4th, 1857, when one of their street fights with the Bowery Boys turned into a bloody riot that killed a dozen people. I think that was the shootout with pistols I was talking about. There was a big street shootout, and that was one of the first times when like actual pistols had been used in like a big, it wasn't just a dust up where like two gangs fought with knives and or bricks or chains or whatever. They used to agree on what they'd use to fight in some of these fights. Like you see where he's talking with Bill, right, and he's saying knives, bricks, guns. No guns, he says. All right, okay, cool. We'll do it old school, right? He says we'll do it knives and bricks, or knives and whatever else, right? Anything with a blade on a sharp end is fine. These guys were slicing each other up, killing each other wholesale in these battles. And that was going on like all the time in certain periods. So imagine living in a place like that. And there was people that were trapped in that world that they couldn't get out. That was the cheapest place to live in the city. That's what they could afford. They couldn't live on Park Avenue uptown with the Richies. Obama just claimed his Iran deal worked. It did? Why? You're the one that gave him all this money and now they're using it against us. It seems like to me. I don't know what's going on in New York. We're getting like a deluge of rain. It's been raining since yesterday. It's still raining now today. It's like they figured, hey, let's totally destroy the Memorial Day weekend. Right? A lot of the businesses at the beach, they need a good weekend, right, to start. Especially like Jersey Shore, stuff like that. Rockaway. They need a good weekend. Or else now no one's at the beach, right? You're making zero. Right? If you got some place that has like fried Oreos and shit, whatever, all that, you're making zero today. Nothing. Maybe a few dollars, but not much. It's not even worth opening up, right? You're going to spend more on the electric and everything else. Might as well just stay closed, right? As opposed to, if it's 75, 80 degree day today, forget it. Which is what it should be. In sunny, you'd have crazy beach day. Everyone's at the beach. Yeah, the water's not warm enough to swim, but it's 80 degrees. We just got 94 a few days ago. It was 92 degrees. I couldn't even sleep. It went from 92 to 62 in one day. That night, just a cold front came in, a thunderstorm hit, and when I woke up in the morning, I was freezing my ass off. Like, what happened? I got all the windows open. It was 90 when I went to sleep. It was 83 or whatever, Obama's deal didn't work. He just gave all kinds of money to Iran. and they bought they made a lot of drones with it and stuff, and a lot of munitions, and then they got more from China just recently, and Russia. So it's another proxy war that's being fought against the United States. We've been weakened. We're losing our way. We've lost our way. We're way off course. Why? Because we got all tied up in Europe's stuff. You know, that's the thing that happened in World War One. We were isolationists before World War One, the United States. We didn't want any part of Europe's problems. Right? And they stirred up a world war by some guy getting assassinated, and you know, one guy getting assassinated set off a world war. That should have never happened, especially if it wasn't even a country of that major concern at the time. It wasn't like the Russian president got assassinated, or the new U.S. president got shot by some Russian agent in the United States. No, it wasn't like that. These are a bunch of cousins that don't like each other in Europe, and they had a little war. Right? They're all related, these guys, right? The Brits and the French. All these guys are interrelated. These families intermarried many generations ago. People forget that. Hundreds of picketing Long Island Railroad workers strike at Rich with 100,000 plus overtime hauls. So these people went on a strike, they got even more money, and they're already making a lot. Because if you can make 6 figures working on the LIR Railroad, that's pretty damn good. I don't know too many teachers that make 6 figures, but they should, right? What's the starting salary of a teacher? I don't know. In Manhattan, it's probably not even 50 grand. Some of the people that work on the transit in the subways make more than a teacher, or people that work on the sanitation. And I'm not saying those people shouldn't get a good salary, but I think we're sort of warped our salaries here. I think the teachers should get the same as sanitation. Then they're just as critical, because if your kid has no education, how's he going to live in the world? Education's super important. We spend more money in the United States, especially in New York, on education, and we don't get much for it because we're not doing it right. We're doing something wrong. We're putting liberal policies into our education that shouldn't be there. We're not stressing math and different things and different teaching methods enough. We're not making the coursework interesting for kids. I remember when I was going to high school, I was using a textbook that looked like it was 25 years old, which meant it was like from the 50s almost. Like, because when I was in high school, it was the early, mid 80s. Mid to late 80s, which means you're using a textbook from maybe the 60s. Like, what? You couldn't update this in the, what the hell's going on here? Why is my classroom so full of kids? There's 35 people in here. So they got more money. I mean, they just had a thing with hotel maids just got some huge bonus here in the city where they're going to be making more than a lot of people are, just to clean up hotel rooms. Who does that help? Illegal aliens that are here. You don't see a lot of any white women working in New York as a hotel maid. Go find me one. It's rare. Go find me one. It's very rare, unless maybe you're from Eastern Europe or some shit and you're here. Most of them are Hispanic or Latina. I worked in hotels, I know. In fact, the hotel that I worked at, all the women were Latin. There was or Asian, and that's it. That's the only two that were ever there. I never saw a black maid. I never saw a white maid. I never saw a Japanese maid. African maid? No, never. Or African American maid? No. Never. Not in the years that I worked in hotels and been in hotels. I don't know why that is, but it's just the way it is in a lot of places. Because you're importing a lot of illegal aliens right into the country. That's why. They have to do something. They need jobs where they can make cash. The maid makes cash, right? What do you think when you leave your hotel room? You're supposed to leave a tip for the maid, right? So if each room's leaving like $5, which most people used to not do, but maybe now they do, you can make quite a bit of money in a big hotel if every room you go in is leaving you $5 cash, right? That's not a bad day. You clean 20 rooms, you made $100, just in tips, right? In some rooms, you're cleaning way more than 20 rooms. You might be cleaning 50 rooms or a couple of floors full of rooms in a morning, right? Depending on how big the hotel is. I was in a mid-range style hotel. It was called the Barbizon. It's not a hotel anymore. It's been made into condos. It used to be the Barbizon Hotel for women for many years, which it was an all-women's hotel. That's not when I worked there, of course. I was just a regular hotel at that point. It was bought by the same people that owns Studio 54, which was Steve Rubell and his friend, I forgot his other friend's name. He owns other hotels now. Steve Rubell and the other gentleman died of, I think he had AIDS. He died of in the early to mid 90s. Cuba gets 300 military drones for possible attacks on Florida and Guantanamo Bay. Wait a minute, what? You're saying Cuba's about to launch drones on us? Well, good luck, dude. You don't have much fuel left. What are you going to run all your systems on? And then we have a carrier down there now. So if we find any drones from you, it's going to be a bad day for you, I'm assuming. But it looks like we can't beat Iran, right? I don't see how we can beat Iran. Like I was saying, how are you going to beat these guys? Senate parliamentarian rules against GOP's White House ballroom plan. I think it's the ballroom. Because I just don't understand how it's costing that much. Ballrooms don't cost $1 billion to make just a standard ballroom. What is this thing going to be made out of? Gold? You're going to have gold ornaments and lapis lazuli. Right. You're going to make the floors out of the most expensive marble known to man. I don't know. I don't get it. Are the chairs made out of gold? Are all the plates gold? Even if that was the case, it still couldn't cost that much. I don't get it. What's going to be underneath this thing? It's something bad, I feel like. And that's what Kimberly Goldwyn's saying too. So I just don't get a good feeling about it. You don't need another nerve center. You have the Pentagon. You have the White House has also an emergency bunker in it, right? You ever see like the White House Down movies? One of those, they go into the bunker, right, where the president goes if there's ever an issue. They have escape routes for the president. There's multiple different tunnels. There's a lot of tunnels under Washington, D.C. You see that train that they ride on? There's a little train down there that the senators and the congressmen ride on. You notice that they can go right into the Senate building there? A ballroom shouldn't cost $1 billion. There's something else going on here. I think you're building some kind of satanic temple down there, which is not good. If that's the case, then you really have been taken over by the Black Sun. And you're implementing their new world order, which is going to be that everybody's going to be completely mapped out. Right? I got your pupils, I got your DNA, I got your fingerprints, I got your blood type, I know everything you've ever sent, every email you've sent. I have everything, your whole life. I have it, everything, right? Down to your DNA profile, down to the exact genome, so I can clone you if I need to, right? So if you're somebody that I want to use, whose DNA is something that I want, I need to make a clone of you, or clones of you, and then I could use that for all the time I want. I don't even need you anymore. Just put your ass back in the world. I got you already. I got everything about you. I own you, right? From birth I own you. You're a commodity of the United States Corporation. I can do with you what I will. That's what these people are doing. And they're like 95%, 97% there almost to implement. All they got to do is build out these data centers that can hold all that data. Every single person on Earth's DNA sequence. Now it all fucking makes sense. And it's huge land grabs, right? None of these data centers are small. You're talking about, I'm watching videos of landowners saying they're being offered $200,000 an acre, $25,000 to $50,000 an acre. So Microsoft allegedly was offering certain farm owners who have large plots, because they only go after the large. See, there's not that many people that own over 1,000 acres anymore. There's some, but they're old families, most of them, or they're corporations, or there's something like that, right? They were looking for the old families that own 500 to 50,000 acres, like that. They want people like that own thousands of acres or 1,000 acres. That's something they could play with, right? You can't build a data center on 50 acres. You need 5,000 acres or 1,000 acres. And hey, if I can get 5,000, I'll buy the whole fucking thing. And that way I got infrastructure. I might have a town or whatever that I buy, right? You saw that there was some large land purchases recently in, I think it was Wyoming or something. There was like a purchase that was about the size of Rhode Island. Can you imagine owning like a whole state worth of land? CDC mobilizes Ebola response amid reports Americans abroad are affected. It looks like they're doing the ramp up, the fear porn. Again, where's Zika, right? Now they're talking Hanta, where's Zika? Remember that X-Files? I gotta play that. Because it was in the X-Files, right? There was an episode where they were talking about hantavirus a long fucking time ago. In the X-Files show, right, of course. Let's watch that scene from X-Files real quick. Hopefully I won't get... where is it? Here it is. So I'm going to play this short clip from the X-Files show. Please don't give me a copyright. It's just for educational purposes. I don't make any money doing this show. I appreciate it. Thank you. This is going to be a scene where Mulder's talking to the cigarette smoking man, I think it is, right? Remember that guy? I think this guy's the cigarette smoking man. And he's talking about how he was recruited with his dad into some program years ago. So let's check this out. It's entitled Hantavirus, a Silent Weapon of War, a clip from an X-Files episode that aired over 20 years ago. So let's check this out.
Are you familiar with the hantavirus, Agent Mulder?
Yeah, it was a deadly virus spread by field mice in the southwestern United States several years ago.
According to the newspaper, FEMA was called out to manage an outbreak of the hantavirus. Are you familiar with what the Federal Emergency Management Agency's real power is? FEMA allows the White House to suspend constitutional government upon declaration of a national emergency. Think about that. What is an agency with such broad sweeping power doing managing a small viral outbreak?
Sorry about the screen. What was that?
You're saying it was such a small outbreak?
No. I'm saying it wasn't the hantavirus.
Well, what was it? What was it?
When we were young men in the military, your father and I were recruited for a project. They told us it was biological warfare or a virus.
What killed those men?
What killed them, I won't even write about. We have no context for what killed those men, or any appreciation of the scale at which it'll be unleashed in the future.
A plague?
The plague to end all plagues, Agent Mulder. A silent weapon for a quiet war. The systematic release of an indiscriminate organism for which the men who will bring it on still have no cure. They've been working on this for 50 years. While the rest of the world have been fighting crooks and commies, these men have been secretly negotiating a planned Armageddon.
Negotiating with whom?
I think you know.
Who exactly is right? Is it, Committee of 300? Is it off-planet entities? Is it the Anunnaki? We don't know. Assuming it's large off-planet corporations, others that are running us, that are trying to... if you watch Jupiter Ascending, right, what's the plot line? Well, it's that humans' loosh is being farmed by aliens for, it's like a life-altering... it's for the Fountain of Youth, right? They figured out how to take the suffering of humans and turn it into, or suffering of any organisms, and turn it into the Fountain of Youth for themselves, where they can live for thousands of years. Which apparently we already have the technology for. But what about if in our... What would it be like if, say, if humans in our original form, before we were allegedly changed via aliens or other, what were we like then? Maybe we lived thousands of years then, right? Like maybe the Atlanteans lived like that. They seem to be an advanced culture that could live a long time. But even they lost their way if they were real. how did they lose their way? If they were so intelligent, how could they lose their way? Because there's always greed, and there's people that lust for more, right? And that aren't happy enough with what they have. It looks like they're trying to ramp up the fear porn. Where's Zika? I wrote. Multiple 2020 election fraud investigations in Georgia and Arizona are underway. Those are two states that there was definitely issues with. Remember when there was ballots were sent to Georgia from Arizona, remember? And there was ballots found in a in garage or in some place, and they were then destroyed. Remember, they found shredding trucks in Georgia. There was all kinds of shit went on in Georgia that I reported about during the 2020 election and after. Trump mocks UN for admitting the Green New scam. So now they're saying, yeah, really, global warming wasn't what we thought. I mean, if it's global warming, why am I freezing my ass off in late May? It's 53 degrees here and I'm freezing. That's the high. You know what the normal high should be right now? It should be like in the 70s here. Or like at least high 60s. It's 53 freaking degrees and it's like raining the second day straight. That is not normal for late May. I don't remember late May being this chilly. I used to remember a couple of years ago, late May, we were already getting 80s and 90s here like normal. And then June was super hot, so I don't know what the hell's going on this year. Trump celebrates after UN Climate Committee moves away from its most extreme global warming scenario. Researchers concluded the worst-case emission scenario no longer reflects the most plausible trajectory. But what is happening is the oceans are getting warmer, which isn't good, right? That the natural, there's a natural current of way the oceans cycle through the world, and if that changes or slows down, it could be disastrous. So we got to make sure we heal the ocean and stop polluting so much. We got to figure out a way to get rid of all this plastic that we've created with the petroleum culture we've put in, right? What's a byproduct of petroleum? It's plastics. Why do you think they created plastics? There's another way we can make more money off petroleum. What do you think petroleum jelly is and Vaseline? You're putting on your baby? You used to put on your baby's skin? It's got oil products. It's oil. It's made from oil. Petroleum. Why would you put that on your baby? But yet people did it for generations. I remember growing up, we had a thing of Vaseline in the medicine cabinet. I used to put Vaseline on my lips when they got chapped as a kid. I remember that. And I used to think it was funny, weird. I was putting petroleum on my body. I didn't even know it. Into my bloodstream, in my system. What were we thinking? Trump drops IRS suits in exchange for apology and a $1.776 billion fund for victims of government weaponization. But you know what else they said? It looks like he's never going to get audited ever again. That's a slick little deal. Of course, he was getting audited every year. But I think for a good reason, because it appears now that certain groups were allegedly laundering money through some of your casinos back in the day. That's why you're getting audited every year, because the money doesn't add up. You saw what his tax returns used to look like? It was stacks that were like 20 foot high of paper. If you're filing that much paper, that means you got very, very shady something going on, because you can't. Your business is all over the place with all these massive amounts of documentation. ICE moves forward with plan to convert warehouses to detention spaces. You're still seeing in New York. I mean, I just walked by Canal Street the other day with a friend who wanted to go down there. I said, "Are you sure you want to go there?" She said, "Oh, it won't be that bad." I said, "Are you sure? Okay, I'll take you over there. You want to get what do you want? Some New York shirt you can buy anywhere? All right, I'll take you to there over Canal Street." And it was a fucking nightmare, dude. There was more guys than I've ever seen there. There was guys on Broadway 3 blocks south of Canal still selling that shit, which means that they're starting to branch out. And it's not just Canal Street anymore. And I did see 2 cops arresting 1 guy. But as I walked by the cops, I said, dude, there's 50 guys back there. You got to get 40 or 50 cops out here. You need numbers. And I told you got to come in at them from all different angles and pincer them, or else they just run away and they take all their stuff. They're on blankets. They just take the blanket up and they run. But they're everywhere. these guys selling this crap, and it's all over the place. You can't even barely walk down Canal Street. I feel bad for anyone who owns a business over there. It's just disgusting. It shouldn't be allowed. It's been allowed to go on for decades. I don't know why. It's somebody's paying off somebody, because some of these guys are coming from out of state. They're from Pennsylvania, and I don't know who's counterfeiting all this stuff. But you never have been able to put those guys out of business. You can seize their stuff. They just get more of it. You got to find out who's making all this counterfeit shit and bust them. Pope creates artificial intelligence study group in preparation for first encyclical. So I remember when Q was saying that it's going to be bad for the Pope and there's not going to be another Pope. Well, there is another Pope. Where's all the gold that you said was underneath the Vatican? How come we never saw that gold? Well, where is it? Why haven't we got it repatriated to the people of the world and the countries where it was taken from? And why can't we have a global debt jubilee? Nobody's doing that. Why not? I still owe all that money on my college loan that I defaulted on. I couldn't pay it. I wouldn't mind having that debt excused. I'm sorry I couldn't pay it. I never got a good job enough to pay for it. College was not the right move. College is not the right play. If I could go back, I would never go to college. I'd learn a trade, like plumbing or welding or bricklaying. Learn to do something like that. Mechanic. You never go wrong. You never be out of business. You think everyone needs a plumber, right? Electrician, another good thing to get into. Wiring stuff, right? Computer stuff, obviously, right? But computer's tricky because you could learn to do something and then 2 years when you get out of school, it's already old, right? They got something new to replace it. Stuff like that is always going to be needed, right? There's never going to be a robot plumber that's as good as a human plumber. There's never going to be able to do it. There's never going to be a robot that's going to be as good at wiring up a whole system as a human can do. Why? Because the human body is the most complex machine ever created. Period. End of sentence. The human brain. Right, another amazing invention. Think of the memory capacity and how you can teach and rewire your brain and learn new things always, right? All through your life you're able to learn, even at your oldest age. Jewish leaders snub Mamdani, reject invite to Jewish heritage event at Gracie Mansion. I don't blame him for snubbing Mamdani. Why would you go there? He's done nothing but say things that aren't actually nice about your religion. He doesn't particularly like your group of people. So why would you go? USS Gerald Ford home after record-breaking 11th month deployment. So the USS Gerald Ford, at least we know that wasn't sunk. Some people were saying all these ships were sunk. Well, that one didn't sink. It's back home after 1 year deployment. It may have got damaged. A drone strike causes fire outside a nuclear power plant in Abu Dhabi. Were they trying to hit the plant and cause even more damage? You notice that Iran keeps hitting all these other countries, right? Not Israel, like UAE and Abu Dhabi, and because those countries are down with the U.S. You have the United States now more and more being sort of we sort of are losing our footing in the world, right? We don't have the same money that we had. We can't force people to use the petrodollar anymore. We can't, at the point of a gun, threaten countries to pick different leadership that we want in there. Trump stuns the internet with an AI photo of himself next to buff alien in change. I saw that and I'm like, okay, what is this guy doing? I don't get it. That's obviously not real. That's not how a gray alien looks, I don't think, anyway. And there's two kinds of grays. There's the tall grays, but they're not all muscular like that. Come on, they have some kind of fake suits, right? That's what people think about the grays, that they're obviously not a real human. The smaller ones are, I don't know what those are, but those are the ones that are stealing people's DNA and stuff, I think. I've awakened many times with scratches on my body that I don't know how they got there. And they're already like scabbed up. So if you're freshly cut, you don't scab up that quick. And when I saw the movie Jupiter Ascending, that scene where the girl's sleeping and the aliens come in her room and she's hiding in the closet and they can't see her and they're levitating her off the bed. Like, that freaked me out real bad. Because I think that's what they do, unfortunately. Ironically, Trump has conveyed skepticism about UFO mania. So this is all, distraction, right? They keep putting out stuff that doesn't appear like it's that, like it's like mind-blowing, right? I remember years ago I saw there was one video floating around of an alien, like an interview they did with an alien that looked kind of real. Tom Hanks has epic interaction with Mr. Met dressed up as his Castaway co-star. So remember the Wilson face? That was the whole blood face that he made, remember? On the ball? Wilson? Well, that's supposedly supposed to be for something even worse, right? Like when they rip your face off in real life. When they torture you. It's alleged that they torture people. They rip your pituitary out and eat it or whatever, some of your glands. These people are sick people, I wouldn't put it past them to do something like that. I thought Tom Hanks was... Remember when they said, oh yeah, Tom Hanks is dead, he's in prison? No, he's still out there. Unless that's his brother they're saying, which it doesn't look like it's his brother. George Clooney's still out there. Remember when you saw that picture of Clooney and Obama on the boat with the little girl, remember? Didn't seem to do anything. Did it matter? Did it matter that they got caught? No. Excuse me. LA woman illegally paid homeless people to register to vote, including at her own address. So they were doing that. They caught the guys doing that in parts of California. Right? Hey, you want to sign up to vote? Here's $3. Here's a cigarette. Yeah, you're junked out on the street. You need a cigarette? I'll sign that thing. Whatever. Yeah, sure. $5? No problem. Right? That's not the first time votes have been bought. But they got guys all over the place doing this. That's how desperate the Democrats are. I was walking in the street the other day, and some woman was out there, trying to give out flyers. She was running for some Senate, whatever. I said, are you a Democrat? She said, yeah. I said, I'll never vote Democrat ever again. I said, you people are a stain on this country. And I just walked away. I felt good about saying that, too, because I was right. I should have said, oh, the party of the KKK? See what she said then, right? I get into that argument all the time with Democrats, and they say, that was old. Okay. That was then, this is now, right. Sure. So it was okay then? Yeah, well, it was that time, It was different back then. No. There was a group called the Republicans that weren't doing that. They were trying to help African Americans to vote. They were fighting for it. They were trying to help them, right? They weren't going and raiding their houses and burning crosses on their lawns and burning stuff and burning their houses and churches down. No, they weren't doing that. Don't forget that the KKK used to also burn down black churches. Don't forget that. Furious, Trump gets $1.8 billion taxpayer-funded payout from his own government. People are calling it a stunning act of corruption. Yeah, you shouldn't get some kind of fund set up. Almost every billionaire gets audited almost every time. IRS ain't stupid. They know you're using the most advanced techniques to try to avoid every tax you can and every loophole, so they'll look into it. They don't care. They don't care if it's a 2,000-page document. The guard last to see Jeffrey Epstein alive arrives for dramatic secret grilling over mysterious jail death. Yeah, why'd you take a nap that night? You were supposed to check him every 15 minutes. He wasn't checked on for hours. That's convenient. How come you were looking at... some of the guards were looking at like motorcycles and expensive items on the internet that night? Oh, did you get some kind of payout into your savings accounts recently? Why are you looking at expensive motorcycles and shit? Bank of International Settlements has Project Agora, right? What is that? What is Project Agora doing? It's exploring the tokenization of cross-border payments. I wrote, beware. This is something you don't want. Right. Why? Well, first off, it's from the Bank of International Settlements. That's anything from them is pretty much no, you don't want. And this is them coming out with their own thing telling you what they're doing, right? We want to make some kind of a token that doesn't have any value right now, and we want to make it have a value. Right? That's what they're doing with all these crypto coins. That's why it's called crypto. It's death. It's a death mechanism. Just like your birth is taken over. The birth mechanism is also taken over, right? When you're born, what happens? You come down your mother's what? Birth canal, right? You come down on water, right? Your mother's amniotic fluids, you're floating in water the whole time you're in the womb, right? You're in water. You're in amniotic fluid. Not H2O per se, right? But you're in a fluid. And then all of a sudden, one day what happens? When it's time for you to be born, when it's time for you to manifest, you start to come down the birth canal, right? And then you're born into the world. You manifest. The day before yesterday, you weren't in the world. You weren't there. You were still in the womb. Now you're outside the womb. You've manifested. You've been born, right? Your mother has given birth to you, just like a ship that is at its birth when it comes into the port, right? Your mother sails into the emergency room of the hospital or wherever she's going to give birth to you. She's put into a room. She's tied up with the tubes and everything like she's a ship at birth, right? And what happens when a ship has a manifest, right? Every ship has to have what's called a manifest of everything that's on board. But the ship itself also manifests, right? In other words, the ship is coming into the port, but it's not there yet, right? It's still out in the ocean. And then the next day it manifests, it's there at the port. It arrives at port, and it sits at its berth. So all the terms of birth are around maritime admiralty, right? Or around the water and ships and shipping terms. They've co-opted the birth and the death process, right? Because you have to get a death certificate to die and you need a birth certificate to live, right? Both of those things are given to you by who? The doctor, right? So you get it now? Right? You go to court in this country when you commit a crime or to have a grievance, what do you do on a court? You play a game, right? That's what Jordan Maxwell was talking about, and he's right. What do you do on a tennis court? You play a game. What do you do on a basketball court? You play basketball. A basketball game. Court is a game. They're telling you the whole thing is a rigged game from the beginning, right? Project Agora, this is from October 14, 2025. They're telling you about it. It's a groundbreaking initiative that aims to test the desirability, feasibility, and viability of a multi-currency unified ledger for wholesale cross-border payments. Why can't we just do it in whatever currency we decide to do it in, or in gold or silver? I'd be fine by me. You want to pay me in gold bars? Bring them over. You pay for the security of shipping it here, not me. Right? But now again, you could just wire money over through the system, right? You don't need any cross-border tokens. I can just wire the money directly into your account within moments. That's how it should work. On the old ledger, it wasn't working that way, right? You'd have to, if you want to transfer millions of dollars, it would take a while, and they would use your money and make interest on it in that meantime. Businesses and banks must often navigate complex correspondent banking networks which can delay transactions. It shouldn't, right? In other words, if I want to wire $50 million from my bank account into your accounts, it should be instantaneous. It should be within minutes, right? It shouldn't take days. I can send an email to Timbuktu in moments, right? Why can't I send $50 million there? Should be the same thing, right? You're just sending it through the pipes, right? It's just a ledger. It's just numbers on a screen. I don't need a cross-border token. I never did. You want a cross-border token? Use gold. Use silver. Use something that's a real asset in the world, not fake things. That's what these people keep wanting to do. They want you to use something that's not worth anything and make it have a value so that they can monetize it and control it. Scandal at New York Magazine is star writer who's friends with Mamdani is accused of plagiarizing others' work. So you have that glass houses thing going on. Remember that thing that was a scandal all years ago? Another big writer was doing the same thing. He's taking other people's work and using it as his own. Little bits of people's articles and little passages that weren't noticed right away. Making up whole stories that didn't even exist, right? There's nothing MAGA about $500,000 student visas for the CCP. Yeah, you're selling us out to China big time. I mean, look at what just happened. Trump went over there on a begging mission and he didn't get anything. And he gave away the whole store, it looked like. He said okay to the Chinese land purchases. He didn't tell them they have to stop purchasing land here. He gave them more soybeans. He didn't use that as leverage, and now they said, okay, we'll buy some oil from you. Big deal. Big deal. You still lost. You're losing that war, right? You're losing the technological war against China because they've stolen and re-engineered so much of your stuff now that they've outwitted you. They've outwitted you. They send spies into your country. They have birth hotels in your country for generations. Not just one, multiple. This shit was going on when I was a kid. And I'm 57 years old. You've long let these people come in and take you over. And it's basically almost done. We've been relegated to a second world country almost at this point. It's staggering to see, really. But it's also... with all the meddling that we've done in the world, it really is unfortunate to say, but we deserve it in a sense, because we've lost our way. We used to be a country that was about something. It was about a higher, being better than all this, right? Trying to stand for justice and truth in the world. That we've lost our way a long time ago, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sad to say it, but. Report thousands of children separated from a parent in ICE push. So there's they've been separating these kids under Biden the whole time, right? Remember all those kids that went into the military bases and then you never saw them again, right? We never saw any kids come out of any dumps. There's still reports from these old news pundits saying, oh yeah, they're saving millions of kids in the dumps now. Millions. Where are they? You know how many a million kids looks like? Where are you going to put them all? Where are they? You're telling me nobody knows where these kids are now? There's a million kids got pulled out of there, and they're somewhere? Okay. Well, I don't believe you. Sorry. I need some physical proof. I need to see a whole Walmart filled with these kids that are being helped and dealt with. I'm not seeing that. And then all this stuff's coming out about aliens. You're not seeing anything really concrete about that. It's all distraction, right? This is all just distraction. It's pulling you in so many different ways. You'll never be able to figure out what's going on. Argentina investment incentive plan tops $27 billion. UPI News, that's a lot of money. What is that in Bitcoin? Suspects ages 17 and 19 died from self-inflicted gunshot wounds during San Diego mosque. You saw the mosque shooting. What's interesting about it to me is that one of these kids is not white, he's Hispanic. I think his last name is Vasquez. Which is odd, right? Because that's like not normal. I would have thought, it was interesting because just a while back I was saying that same thing, right? You almost never see a mosque get shot up like this, but yet they're doing it to Jewish synagogues and churches a bunch of different times already. But then we finally saw a mosque did get attacked, right? Is that something that's going to happen again? We'll have to watch and see. Because there's a lot of places where mosques are now starting to show up and people are very unhappy about it, right? Trump pulls back on plan to attack Iran tomorrow, citing serious negotiations. He's saying that they're almost done. They think they're going to have the negotiation now. But it doesn't appear to me that Trump is negotiating with the real heads of Iran. Prince William plans to sell part of his royal estate for, I think he said he's going to sell it for $670 million. And that's just a part of what he owns. That's insane. But who's getting to buy it? Shouldn't it be given back to the people? Why is it being sold at a profit? These are lands that maybe you shouldn't have had a right to take. If you go back and what some of the stuff the Crown's done over the time, they've screwed a lot of people over there too, right? You wouldn't want to be a serf back in England back in the day with some of these crazy kings, dude. Raising taxes on you like crazy, there's nothing you could do about it. Have to try to go into court and play the political game there and try to get more lands for your family and stuff, or defend your lands from being taken by others, right? Pakistan deploys 8,000 troops and a jet squadron to Saudi Arabia as Iran war tensions escalate. That's interesting. Because I thought the UAE was like on our, Saudi Arabia was like on our side, the U.S.'s side. So why is Pakistan doing that? Long Island Railroad strike is over after MTA unions reach a deal. Yeah, they only 3 days walkout wasn't long, right? Rules against forever toxins were rolled back by the Trump administration. This is something that's really bad. Because it's going to make it easier for these things. And he's not doing anything about, like I said, with the FDA and making, some of these chemicals are like number 2, red dye still being used, glyphosate still being used, benzene is being used and stuff. Other stuff that you shouldn't be, hydrogenated like wheats and all these crappy things like that that's really bad for you. Right, they mess around with this. Even the bread that we have is bad, right? They can't even make just basic bread good anymore. For some reason. Maduro ally Alex Saab appears in U.S. court on money laundering charge. So it looks like that they were money laundering out of Venezuela. It was another big center where they were doing that. There's plus Ukraine, right, and others. 3 people dead in apparent hate crime at San Diego mosque. I said I've not seen a mosque attack like this before. This is a first, or at least a change in prior shootings. It's also not a white shooter, it appears. Maybe one of the shooters, I think, was white. Which is, I think, also interesting. Left's election fraud denials crumble as DOJ exposes 2-decade-long California cheating scheme. FBI Director Kash Patel says prior administrations looked the other way on election cheating, but those days are over. So that's a big deal, because they've been cheating on the elections a long time. I mean, look at what happened with the recall of Newsom. You saw the votes were going up for Newsom, and then they started going down, because he was going to be recalled. If that vote was held clean on paper, he's recalled, no question. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm also noting that Kimberly Goldwyn's videos used to be on this before its news site, and now they're not, all of a sudden they're not appearing on there anymore, which I think is very interesting. Because whenever her videos would go up, they would automatically dominate all the other videos on that station, and I think that's why they did that. Because she's coming out with she's not part of that network, in other words, right? Somebody was just uploading that video when it would come out to that station, and somebody told them they don't want it there anymore. Because I had to find her video that came out on her own website, United Network News website, which, it would sometimes take a long time for that to come out. So I'm not sure why they're not uploading it anymore to that before its news site, but I thought that was also interesting. It's mostly dominated by the Flynn people, right? Like Juan O'Savin, Nino Rodriguez, people like this. Patriot Underground. They have all these names for these shows. I'm a patriot, right? You have to listen to me. I mean, look, it says patriot in the name. I must be a good guy, right? That's why I changed the name of mine from We Are the News, because we are still the news, but I wanted to really make people know that this station is not funded in any way. We don't make any money. I don't make any money. I don't know why I keep calling it we like it's more than one person here. It's always been just Ash. It's always been just me. And it was I created this because out of my own frustration watching all these pundits making money while pushing what I thought was misinformation onto the public. And I don't want to be that type of person. I had to differentiate myself in some way. And the way I can do that is say, hey, I'm not going to make one dime doing this ever, and I never have. You can go back through every video and watch and go find me. Any advertisement that I put in there is not me. It's if there are ads, they're from the websites, not me. And I don't make any money off any of it. I never have and I never will. Even on Rumble, if I go to my dashboard, can I do that real quick here? I made almost nothing. I don't want to go there right now, but I can assure you. I will if you want me to. Dashboard, whatever, right? I made $90. I made $90. Almost 1 million views. 2,716 followers. Which it's only telling me I have 2,690 on my site, by the way. And I didn't cash out, right? Because you could see if I did, it would say zero. I've only made $90. I mean, talk about nothing. Rumble is sad, isn't it? That's how much you paid all out all this time? That's it? Now I gotta go find where I was. It'll take me a second. But Rumble doesn't pay out much. They don't pay out much. All right, we just talked about Bank of International Settlements. That's not looking good. They want to make all these tokens. Why? Alex Saab is in U.S. on money laundering charges. We had the mosque attack. Trump admin. Trump says new hospital will open under the White House ballroom. Now it's a hospital? I thought it was a nerve center or a skiff. Now it's a hospital? I wrote, you mean cloning center, right? That way you can get the new clone right upstairs. You can service them right there in the building, right? You don't got to take them to the naval base or wherever to do anything to get another clone. It'll be right under the White House. Perfect. This ballroom price is now ballooned to $1 billion somehow. Well, yeah, if I'm going to build a whole cloning center with labs and satanic shit under there, it's going to be expensive. LaGuardia Airport adds hologram concierge Bridget in latest spooky invasion of AI. Well, they had another one like years ago, but it was like, it wasn't a whole box hologram like that. It was like just some piece of plastic that you could talk to with like a fake face on it, like that. That was like the first one. I mean, it didn't go over very well. You want to see what this one looks like real quick? It's like sort of like that box technology that I was telling you they can do. It's like a box, right? Like this. And I guess you touch this screen and she's in it, but what is in this thing? What is it emanating? It's probably got cameras in it, I'm assuming, so it can watch everybody that comes through here. I heard the new LaGuardia terminal's like really unbelievable, like futuristic style stuff. So this is one of the travelers like talking to it. I guess you can ask questions. It'll help you. I guess if it helps people, that's great, right? If it can help people in any language, that's also really helpful for certain people that maybe you speak like a language that almost nobody in the airport speaks, right? That happens a lot of times. People come to this country and they speak a language that's not that normally spoken that much, right? Well, this could be a godsend to someone like that. I guess in the future it'll just be like a robot that'll be there, like that. You don't need the whole box thing. That seems like a very expensive way to do it. Wouldn't it be easier to just pay 2 people to man a desk there? Republican pushes DOJ to crack down on OnlyFans TikTok explosion of obscene pornography. Yeah. I mean, you have shows like Euphoria and these shows that are showing women doing it and making money. They're trying to sell you on it, right? Hey, it's not that bad. You're just posting some photos of yourself and you'll make all kinds of money. That's not usually how it works. And, 99% of the people that go on OnlyFans don't make enough to survive on, right? That's just the reality of it. Only the top 1 or 2% of earners are making all these millions. So they're trying to trick you into doing, it's like, okay, well that doesn't work. Maybe I'll do like a movie, right? Maybe I'll start doing videos of me doing certain things. And then all of a sudden you're doing porn for pay, right? So I think things like OnlyFans are really bad. I think we need to, Conor McGregor said one thing I thought that was interesting. He was talking about that the United States is going to have to turn inward at some point, and that's true. We're going to have to fix ourselves first before we can try to fix and help anyone else in the world, right? You can't fix yourself unless you yourself are fixed. You can't love unless you've, another person unless you love self. And we have a big problem in this country with groups that are people that don't like each other, right? That's what happens when you let all kinds of people emigrate into your country. It's going to cause a lot of strife because you're Why? Well, because you're mixing people together that some of them don't like each other and don't want to be around each other. Why do you think people are starting to build whole towns that are only an Islamic town? You have to be a Muslim to live there, because Muslims don't like being around the rest of us. They don't want to be, some of them, at all, right? But yet they want to come to our country and live here and benefit from all the things that you can be, being in a free society like this, but they don't want to fully integrate and be part of it, right? They just want the benefits of being part of it and then not have to share themselves or be a part of the culture in any other way, right? Besides maybe voting. Yeah, we're just going to go live over here. We don't want to be part of you people. We don't even want to see you. You know how disgusting that is to me? You don't want to see us? Then go back to your country. You want to be all around only Muslims? Go back to where you are from. It's that fucking simple. You want to be in a multi-ethnic society? Come live here. You want to be in a multi-religious society? Come live here. If you can't deal with that, then don't come here. Stay in your country if it's so great. Obviously, your country isn't so great. Because if you look at some of the countries that have Sharia law, you're seeing women be beaten. You're seeing women be stoned to death. You're seeing women gang raped. You're seeing women killed in honor killings. That's fact. That's fact. So don't come over here and try to say that your religion's so great. And if it is, then why are you trying to be off by yourself all the time and you're not allowing anyone else to be part of your fucking religion that's from this country? Why don't you want to be part of this country? Yet you want to reap the rewards and benefits of living here. It doesn't make any sense. It's like me going to, some majority Muslim nation and saying, hey, I want to build a Christian town and I don't want any Muslims allowed to come there. You think they're going to be liking you too much over there? Probably not. Go try to do that in Israel. They'll beat you half to death. That's fact. AFT boss Randy Weingarten tapped union resources worth over $1.4 million to write her manifesto book. Well, that's illegal. You're not allowed to tap union resources to do a private project. That's illegal. She should have been removed a long time ago. Plus, she's pushing socialist, causes and stuff, being part of a union. I mean, this woman has way too much power. Cops are already hunting the San Diego mosque shooters after their mom raised alarm that one was armed and suicidal. Well, again, you got there a little bit too late, right? And even the mother was telling you, warning you, and you still couldn't find them. Chicks hatch from artificial eggs in scientific first. So they just made artificial chicken eggs? Could be a game changer. So they don't need the chicken anymore. Remember what came first, the chicken or the egg? Apparently it was the egg. Not the chicken. But if the egg came first, who was the first chicken? Well, the first chicken was actually a DNA made chicken, right? Can they make a robot chicken that can make this egg? And what happens to me if I eat this egg and I make an omelet with this? And what does it do to my body? What's inside of it? And what if you're not telling me that you're giving me these eggs now, right? Now they have artificial chicken eggs. That's highly disturbing. Leftist firm defending Singham Network from House probe, also tied to the Marxist Network. A left-leaning law firm helping Singham Network groups push back against House GOP efforts to get answers about the CCP-linked financial network is itself closely tied to parts of the same Marxist network. Let me just make sure I'm still recording. I am. I'm going to take a break soon, guys. I need some coffee. I'm low, very low. I mean, I'm out, actually. I'm just trying to stretch. So the Singham Network, that could be the same network that's putting out a lot of these old pundits, I think, is what's happening. I wonder if we can... Some people have tried to tie, like when I look back on like X22 report and some of these people, which is just some guy named Dave, right? It's like, it's the same thing as NPNP News. It's just, he's making millions of dollars doing it and I'm making nothing, right? And he's putting out propaganda though. That's the problem. He's putting forth the talking points of the old pundit talking points over and over. 10 Days of Darkness, EBS any day. There's going to be a Nasara Jasara. There's going to be a global, there's going to be a debt forgiveness. None of those things ever happened. And there's been people that have been pumping that for 25 years or 20 years now, selling you Iraqi dinar, right? I remember people telling me, load up on dinar, dude, load up. Why? It's worthless. Why am I loading up on it? Load up on the dong, bro. Why? It's worthless. It's worth $20. $500,000 dongs worth like $30. Why am I going to do that? I was telling them back then, load up on silver, and they're like, no, silver's worthless. I'm like, well, it's low, but it's worth something. It's worth more than the dinar. And so, yeah, I had bought initially, like, I don't know, a little bit of dinar, like maybe like a couple of $100 worth, and like I had 1,000,000 dong or something, and I just threw it all in the garbage one day because I realized I don't want this crap in my house. I think these people are lying to me about the dinar, and I think I just got snuffed. I got scammed, and then from that point on, I exclusively only invested in gold and silver from that point on. No stock, no bonds, no crypto. I was originally in some crypto that if I had held on to like the Cardano that I had, I would have been super rich. Because I think Cardano went to one of the ones I had a lot of went to like $3 or $4. So if I had held that one, I would have been a millionaire. But most of those, most people, I didn't make much in. I made small profits. But still profits. Fighter jets scrambled over Washington, D.C. as terrified local residents hear sonic boom. So something was going on. There was also a shooter that claimed he was Jesus Christ that was shooting at the White House. Trump's top Senate Republican turns on president as GOP revolt erupts over the $1.8 billion slush fund for MAGA allies. It's as if he sued himself. So something about this fund is very strange. Also, remember there was the slush fund for the... Could this be that that's what they're trying to make this in and just say, oh yeah, that's what this is, but really that's the slush fund? I don't know. But it sounds suspicious to me. Trump's IRS settlement forever bars audits into his tax claims. Forever. That means that none of his children will ever be audited by the IRS for the rest of their lives. He won't be. That's a big... How did you get that? That's a huge scandal right there. Why? Well, because you were always getting audited. There was things that may or may not have gone on in your taxes that were overlooked in the past because of who you were. Right? I'm almost positive you were money laundering through the various casinos because they all went out of business in the end, right? Which is classic mafia tactic, right? They take over a business, they liquidate all the assets out of it, they suck it dry, they get everything out of it they can, and then they burn it down for the insurance. It's a classic mob play. They just didn't burn the casinos down in the end, they just go bankrupt and they go away, right? They don't exist anymore. That's the burning down part. It's a metaphorical burning. Trump IRS settlement forever bars audits into tax claims for his family as well as himself, right? That's a big, big deal. That means now that he can go and say whatever he wants on his taxes knowing he will not get audited, which means that he can possibly get away with fraud, right? With hiding assets more. And knowing he won't be audited. Enormous minimum salary that New York City hotel cleaners will now earn thanks to new union contract. I mean, it's insane how much money these people are making. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be adequately paid, but there's a point where it becomes ridiculous if you're making more than a teacher or more than certain other jobs, like a police officer. An annual salary of at least $100,000 is set to be implemented. That's for hotel room cleaners? Are you kidding me? I gotta go apply. Where do I get my application? Can I apply for that job? Oh no, you can't. You're white and you're a male. So what? It could be you ever see a male housekeeper cleaning your room? Never, right? Almost never. I never did. I've been staying in hotels for years, decades. Never saw one. And I almost hardly ever saw a white one either, unless in certain areas. Nowadays, you never see it. You never see it. Very rare. Although maybe in New York that's changed, where other ethnicities are now doing housekeeping. I don't remember seeing it, though. Which means that, what does that mean? Well, it means that there's hiring practices that aren't by the up and up on the up and up either, because you're only hiring one race of people for this job, right? You open up your city to all these illegal aliens to flood in. They have to have jobs that pay well, or else how can they live here? They also need social security cards. Damn, so you can make $100,000 cleaning hotel rooms in New York, people. So hey, if you're a woman, try to sign up. See what they tell you. I'm assuming they'll say, sorry, we can't give you that job. You're white. CDC working with FIFA to ensure safety of World Cup as team from Ebola outbreak epicenter set to travel to U.S. Like, I think maybe that's a bad idea. It's like you have FIFA going on, all of a sudden there's an alleged Ebola outbreak in part of Africa. They're saying this hantavirus. But if you look at the Mulder scene, what is he talking about? That it's not Hanta in the end. It's a military virus they want to release, like another COVID, right? That's what COVID was. It was worked on in military bases, right? It was also worked on at University of North Carolina. Before it was COVID, it was called SARS, right? They were working on SARS and SARS-CoV, remember? Messing around with it. They had different Chinese scientists saying, hey, we're taking the backbone out of this thing. We're putting HIV and we're making an HIV chimera. Wait a minute, what are you doing? Why are you making a chimera of HIV? That's not good. HIV's AIDS. You're making an AIDS chimera? Why? And you're doing what with it? You're putting it into a vaccine? You're putting it into something that you're creating in a lab? You're making something more lethal? Why? You're not supposed to make a virus more lethal. You're supposed to learn how to kill a virus more economically and faster and easier, not make it more virulent. So these people were doing the opposite. They were making a Frankenstein virus, right? They were using HIV to do it. I showed you that they made the study where they made the HIV chimera. I showed it to you more than once. I showed it to you 3 or 4 different times, right? That's fact. That the Chinese were working on an HIV chimera. They made an HIV chimera. And they introduced it into SARS-CoV. Mystery surrounds death of special agent linked to UFO secrets. They're trying to keep me quiet. Kevin Childress in the Savannah River. Another person killed. Why are they killing them, though, if they're saying that they're coming out with UFO disclosure? Because the UFO disclosure they're coming out with is not the one that these guys are coming out with. They knew other stuff. Right? There's some people that know that they're experimenting on human beings, and they have been for a long time. Why do you think... That's the other big thing that went down, right? Tulsi Gabbard says she's stepping down because of the husband, right? That the husband has bone cancer, but does he? Or why is she really stepping down, right? Because when they went into her office, they allegedly took the certain files out of her office which were not supposed to be taken out, which she was supposed to be going over so that they would be released. The JFK assassination files was one, JFK files plus other stuff about MK Ultra apparently that was seized from her office. Right? They don't want the MK Ultra stuff to come out. Why? Because it leads to them doing it on children. It leads to them doing it on children, right? If you saw Glass, you know what I'm talking about. Was it Glass? Where the guy's got like 15 altars, right? Where the dude has like 15 altars and shit. You saw that movie. It was in 2019 movie. Glass, right? Where he has 15 altars and one of them's like this superhumanly strong dude, right? Who can do all kinds of crazy, like break bars and things and crazy stuff. Check out Glass if you get a chance. I think they were doing this, unfortunately, to children via originally probably using things like rape, unfortunately, to break you, right? To break your altar at a certain age where you create altars because something so hideously savage is happening to you that you have to, right? To avoid being present for the whole thing. And I don't know if this was done to me or not. I'm assuming it was. And then I was memory wiped, but I don't know. I just know a lot of my memory's been wiped. That's all I could tell you. A lot of these people who claim they're super soldiers have way more memory than I ever have of stuff. I don't know how they're... I guess it depends on certain people. How I only am working off one memory, which is of being abducted by a homeless man. So again, I don't know what happened to me after that, but it felt like that moment lasted so long. And when I started to look into more super soldier stuff, and I found out about 20 and back, 40 and back programs like what James Rink was talking about, I realized, oh shit, that's probably something that I was involved in. And then you could also go into stuff like the time travel stuff. Also, is a whole other aspect of it, right? So then you get into the whole timeline shifting, the Mandela effect, all that crap. Montauk Project, right? Philadelphia experiment. That's a whole rabbit hole that you can go down for years, and I've been in it for years. So I've looked at every angle of it, and I'm pretty sure I was somehow involved in it. Because I also have physical scarring. That's the other thing. A lot of people have maybe a memory, but I have actual physical scars of straps on my skin that looks like I was strapped into something where I was viciously trying to get out of, because it's literally the lines are imprinted into my skin, which I don't know how you would do that unless you're strapped into something with no shirt on and you can't get out and you're struggling to get out, or that it's so tight that it literally cuts into your skin and leaves an indent that's there, which would mean you would have had to been strapped into something many different times, not just one time, but over a period of time where it is literally indenting into your skin, leaving a scar that is visible. So that's all I got. I'd also heard that some of these alien craft are flown like where you're strapped in, where you're literally flying the craft as if it's like it's hooked up to your mental state, like you're flying the plane. You're flying the spacecraft or whatever with your mind only. Like there's no physical flying of the craft. That could be possible, that they strap you into something where it's literally linked into your body somehow through the pineal or some other way, right? I don't know, but we all need to get some answers on this. So I'm going to take that break now, guys. I'm getting real tired. I need some coffee. I'm an hour and a half in. I'll try to do this fast as I can. I don't want to keep doing 3-hour shows, but it's important that we look at all the angles that are happening right now and all the information, knowing that some of it is false and some of it is half-truths. We still need to examine all the information that we can so that we can make an informed decision using our intuition and our logical minds, which is what I've been doing from the beginning, and it's served me well. I've been right more than I've been wrong. And I think the situation as we're in right now is pretty clear. And so I'll go into that more when I get back. We're going to get into the Internet of Nano things. The Internet of Things was the first part of that, but now we're in the second stage already, which is the Internet of Nano. The whole point of it was to go nano so we can get inside your body. Now we're inside your body. Now we got you. Now it's time to put Gattaca into effect. We want your entire DNA profile on disk or whatever, right? Just in a file somewhere that we can pull out and clone at will whenever we want. We can create you. We can mix you with other super soldiers who have other psychic gifts or whatever. Let's say you're psychically gifted, but you're not physically gifted. Well, now I can take your clone or your DNA profile, mix some of your DNA into another super soldier who is physically gifted but not mentally gifted, and now I have a super soldier that's both physically strong and has mental powers of some kind, psychic ability. That's an awesome weapon to have. I can kill you with my mind or I can kill you with my body. So friends, I hope you're well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. This is your friend in New York City, Ash, NPNP News, where I've always been. I'm hoping one day I won't be in New York anymore, but I keep hearing people say New York City is the place. It's like Roach Motel. It's like you can check in, but you can't check out. I'm starting to feel like it's true, even though they said that's Hotel California, right? But there's Hotel New York too. There's some interesting energy in New York City for sure, right? That's why people say, like, how does Ari do his show? It's New York, dude. That's why. It's on a node. You want to feel some interesting energy? Go to the intersection of ley lines. DC's another place. New York is along that axis, that ley line axis where the nodes come together, right? And another place would be there's a big one of those out in places like Sedona, places like Nevada. There's other another strange energy. Go to Pyramid Lake and places like that. There's some crazy energy out there, right? Pyramid Lake is in Nevada. So friends, I'll be right back. I'm going to get that coffee. I hope you're well. I appreciate you listening. The few people that appears that are still listening, I appreciate you. I hope you're going through some ascension and your stuff is coming up within your body and your mind to be released by you. Memories or old memories might be coming up to be released. You need to lay down your karma and your ego right now and deal with those things and go into your next density, right? That's what we're trying to do. And there's a group of people that unfortunately don't want us to go into that density, because when we do, and when all humans are in 5D together, well, these people won't have any way to control us anymore. That's just fact. And they're desperate to keep their control mechanism of us. That's why they're creating this new... In a sense, it is a new matrix, right? It's not wrong to say that. I think the data is twofold, right? We want to create a matrix to house all of you in, a new one, because the one we created before, you've already discovered it, and it's now... And you do not consent anymore. And the energy is changing. Well, we need to put you in a new matrix, a more advanced matrix, a bigger prison, a prison that's even more harder to get out of, and where we have your entire DNA profile. That's Gattaca. So friends, I hope you're well. I'll be right back in one sec, or a couple moments for you. You can do some push-ups, sit-ups, and burpees, and I'll be right back. Thanks, friends. Okay, friends, I'm back. Thanks for that break. So it looks like Ilhan Omar is under DOJ investigation for immigration fraud right now. That's what J.D. Vance says, if you can believe anything these people say anymore. I just don't know where we are. I've lost my way on this so many times of trying to figure out what this plan is that these people have. And obviously I realized a long time ago that there is no plan, or the plan that they have is not the plan that's for us. Is they're trying to convince you that there is a plan is the plan, right? They try to convince you that there's some group of people that's going to come save you is the plan, so that you sit there and do nothing as they get the data centers ready to go. And we're calmly complying with it, just wondering, oh my gosh, what's happening? Why are these people doing this? Well, now you know. They want your DNA, everyone's DNA sample profile in their data center for some reason, so they can have full control over you. And they can make another version of you if they want. Is there going to be anti-cloning legislation that goes on? What do you want my DNA for? And are you allowed to have a sample of all of our DNA? You shouldn't be allowed to. But what do you think happens when your doctor takes your blood? They got your DNA. They got it right there. You're giving it to them. You're doing things like 23andMe. And they're telling you, yeah, we're getting rid of all the excess DNA we don't use, but are you? How do I know that? Hochul MTA largely caved to striking Long Island Railroad union workers, but insists taxpayers won't be financially crushed. Yeah, they're going to raise the rates on us again. They will. They have to pay for it. Long Island Railroad's expensive already, kind of. 2 people hunters who paid to shoot civilians in 1990 Sarajevo sniper trips are investigated in Austria. So imagine, I think this has ended up being true. Can you imagine being such a sick, twisted person that you want to shoot other people? If you want to shoot and kill people, go join your country's armed forces. That's what some people do. Join it for. Right? Maybe your family has been in the military a bunch of times. Okay, that's another reason some people join. Some people join to get out of their town or the village or the place that they're from. They want to see the world. But then there's another group, smaller group of people that they do it so they could kill people legally, right, and get away with it. That's unfortunately. Why do you think people sign up to be a sniper? You think because they just want to do good for the world? No, they want to kill people and get paid for it. I want to see the pink mist, right? Right? The snipers dream about the pink mist, right? When they blow your brains out. Sandy Fire closes in on mansions belonging to Kim Kardashian and Kylie Jenner. So it looks like they set another fire, right? It's called the Sandy Fire. It's interesting that it's called Sandy. Whenever I hear the word Sandy, I cringe because I think about Hurricane Sandy that hit when it hit New York and what happened to me and everyone in New York during that horrible time. I was literally, climbing up dozens of stairs in the dark, killing myself to get water. It was fucking insane. I had to drive all the way up to above 42nd Street at the time. I was living downtown just to get food while the rest of the city was partying and hanging out. I'm walking around, having bathed in days, looking like shit. What a crazy fucking place that was, time that was, because half the city had electricity, and everything south of 42nd had nothing. So it was like there was two worlds. There was like the darkness and the light. And I was unfortunately in the dark. So I think it looks like they're burning down more. And now there's also a chemical plant in one of the Cali cities or towns that they're saying it's going to blow up, and they evacuated like 40,000 people there. Trump forced to cancel Iran strikes after Pentagon's warning about Tehran's tracking. That's the other part of it, is they didn't never stop. Iran still has their satellite network is in place, and that's how they're using all the drones. So they can still track us. Plus, they were given more stuff by by China and the Soviet Union. So, we're in the middle of a proxy war where we're losing now because we don't have enough weapons. Our naval stock is not as dangerous as it was anymore, and we don't have. I think we're a problem is we don't have enough drones. We need to get into the drones way more, and we didn't at the time. We need to get into a lot more flying drones and a lot more of the smaller drone tech that you can also kill people with, right? Because let's say I can make a drone down to the size of a bee or a fly. Well, I don't need too much of a charge. I could land that fly right on your head and just have enough C4 in it to just blow a hole into your head, right? It doesn't require that much. Or have it fly into your ear and just explode, right? And you're dead. Or I could have it release some kind of a toxin into your whole platoon, right? It doesn't take much. Have a caterpillar type thing or whatever, crawl into your, unannounced to your area, release the toxin. Everyone's dead, right? All kinds of ways you can use these smaller drones. It's a big change coming to the way of war, unfortunately. Instead of getting rid of war, they're just making war different ways, easier. Palestine Chronicle editor-in-chief admits cousin was top Hamas commander who carried out suicide attack. Oh, so that's why they took that whole building out where Hamas was. They deservedly, they should have, because it turns out that you were using someone in the press was also connected to Hamas. How unusual. The U.S.-based nonprofit is facing a lawsuit filed by 3 former Israeli hostages who were kidnapped during the October 7th attack and rescued from the home of one of the outlet's journalists after months in captivity. So these fucking people were using their own employees to keep the hostages. Can you believe these people? Can you fucking believe them? And you're a news organization? Wow. Not really, right? You're actually a terrorist organization posing as a news organization. Or a non-profit, you're saying. Squatters team helps desperate homeowners reclaim property. So this guy's one of the guys doing it. He's doing it just the way I said, basically. The homeowner gives him a lease of 1 month or 2 months, whatever it is. Excuse me. He pays whatever small amount, $1 a month rent. He moves in. Right now you're locked in here with me. I'm not locked in here with you. Right? You're locked in here with me. Rorschach type shit. Right? Now I'm going to make your fucking life a living hell until you leave this place. I'm going to blast music. I'm going to be up all night. Oh, I got a snake collection. I got animals coming in here. I got Rottweilers coming. I like to stay up late and play music and shit. I play the drums at like 2 in the morning. What's up? I'm your new neighbor. I'm your new tenant, sorry. I'm living in here with you. You can leave anytime you want. There's the door, right? Watch how fast they leave, because this guy's a serious motherfucker. He doesn't play around. Usually when people like this guy walk in the door and they realize who he is or what he is, they leave real quick. Most of them. Because they don't want the coverage or the drama or police near them. It's not worth it to them. They'll just go find another one when nobody's around. Or where the person maybe doesn't have the money to hire this guy, right? You gotta get nasty with these fucking people, man. You can't be nice about it. You got to get down to their level if you want to deal with them. That's how you do it. You find someone like this. You could be anybody, right? You can get your best friend if he's a crazy motherfucker. The crazier, the better. Right? If this happens to you, find your craziest fucking friend. Say, hey, listen, you want to make a quick grand? Or whatever? I need your help. Everyone's got a friend like that, right? Or knows somebody that does. Get that guy. Preferably the bigger the better, too, right? Crazier the better and the bigger the better. That's you know, nobody wants to go near a big crazy acting dude, right? They stay far away. They don't want, you don't want to be living with that guy, right? That's the guy you want to come in and deal with squatters. Scientific report on Golden Dome program counters Trump's claims. This is the same 1980s Star Wars bullshit that they're doing again to make just have a huge amount of money disappear down another hole, right? Rabbit hole or a hole, whatever. A bottomless pit. Yeah, it's Star Wars. It's only going to cost $1 billion, and that was in 80s money. TSA quietly starts letting passengers bring their weed on planes with a big catch. So yeah, it's only like if you have like a medicinal, I think, and what is the other rule? I guess you can't smoke, obviously, on the plane. Yeah, but now there's so many things you could get weed, like in edibles. They got weed sodas and weed drinks. You can take weed, CBD drops. You don't need to smoke weed anymore. You can get high 7 different ways from Sunday without smoking it, right? You can do a weed lollipop or whatever. They got all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, right now I could sneak it on the plane 5 different ways and you'd never know. It looks like I have a lollipop, right? Or whatever. No, it's not. It's actually a weed lollipop. But unless you see the actual wrapper, So I don't know how you're going to stop all of it. I mean, there's people taking like weed drops before they go on planes. You're never going to know that they're high, though. Most potheads who do a lot of weed, they don't even look stoned, and they actually are. That's the thing. Like, I used to smoke a lot of pot, and after a while, my pupils didn't even dilate anymore. So that was like a big thing that cops used to, oh, look, your pupils are dilated big time. And there's other antidepressants and things that do that, but if you smoke a lot of weed, it won't, not necessarily, your eyes might not do that anymore. Todd Blanche won't rule out payments to January 6 rioters. Sorry, there's a fire truck coming, guys. Sorry. Let's hope it doesn't get too loud. If it keeps getting closer and louder, I'll do a quick pause. So the January 6 rioters didn't get any payments, and are they all out of jail was the thing I also wanted to know. Are all those arrested for participating in this event free now, or are all the inmates free in the infamous DC jail where many were held? Alright, I'm going to do a quick pause for the siren and I'll be right back. Sorry, friends. Just give me 1 second. Thanks. Okay, I'm back. Thanks, friends. Sorry about that siren, but, there's a restaurant right up the block from where I lived that there was a fire there yesterday. The restaurants have smoke pipes, the ventilation pipes that go up for the cooking to the roof of the building, and so sometimes those don't get cleaned out properly and the grease builds up and they catch fire. I've seen fire spurting out of the tops of these times when they're not cleaned out properly enough, like your grease has to be cleaned out by a machine that comes and sucks out all the grease from your grease traps if you have a restaurant that cooks a lot of like meats and foods. They might have lit up the kitchen again. Who knows what these guys do? So you can bring some of your weed on a plane now, which I guess is good if you're traveling with your medicinal weed. But everybody should. If it's not legal all through the country, that's what they should have probably done. It would have probably made it a lot easier that way. Just make every state legal, and then let each state implement it the way they want. And it is a huge profit in it. But some states don't want to make weed legal, like Texas, like Georgia, like a lot of states in the South. There's no legal weed at all. There's even no medicinal. And that's not fair to people who need, there's people who are suffering from seizures and things like that, where the CBD on some of the CBD that's not have THC in it, but some of that CBD is incredibly valuable to people like that, and it can be used as a medicine, right? I've seen people that have horrible tremors and ALS and different, who have different categories of Parkinson's and things like that have horrible effects on the body. Some of those pain and spasms can be relieved with CBD oil. So it should be illegal in every state in terms of that, but whatever, that's another argument to have. Payments to J6 rioters. Are all those arrested for participating in this event free now, I wrote? Are all the inmates free in the infamous DC jail? We never heard if they were. I had heard that everybody was released at some point, right? But no, are we sure? Personally, I think that anybody who was jailed definitely deserves compensation. That's no question. Because the majority of the people that got arrested were just attending. They weren't actually, It's another thing if you were seen on film, smashing a cop up. Well, they got you dead to rights on that. But most of those people weren't. They were who were beating the cops were actually the FBI people trying to make it look violent, right? Stephen Colbert embodies Hollywood's partisan self-destruction. So he's the end of Stephen Colbert finally after 11 years. And good riddance, You took something that should be fun and just fun for everybody and not have to, and made it into like a political sort of, propagandistic tool when it shouldn't be that at all. It should be the exact opposite of that. It should be something that's fun, that everybody could watch, right? Like, who is it that once said, I don't know, it was some company, right, who said, hey, don't you want to make a political statement on this? And the guy said, well, why would I do that? Then, the other half of my customers, I'm just going to alienate them. Why would I do that? Right? I want all my customers happy. I don't have a particular political affiliation for that reason. I stay out of politics. I'm selling a product to the public, right? That's all I'm doing. I want to sell it to as many people as I can. If I come and take a political position on, say, Donald Trump, and I sell, I don't know, like baseballs or whatever, well, a huge amount, half of the baseball watching public's not going to buy my baseball anymore, or my glove, or my clothing, or my whatever it is I make, right? When you sell a product, you don't usually want to take a political stance because you're going to, right off the bat, alienate half the population, right? That's stupid. That's not good business. And anybody that's a good businessman knows that. I wrote that Colbert's a Jon Stewart creation, right? The political scene changed when Stewart's show came out. And it was different than Johnny Carson and others. And he was funny at first, right? He wasn't completely political, but the reason he was funny was because he also did poke fun at the Democrats too at times, right? He wasn't completely one party, although he was definitely on the Democrat side. But he didn't do it the same way. This, to me, began a shift to using these shows in a more propagandistic way, I wrote, especially Stewart. Colbert and a host of others they spawned, like Kimmel and others, all liberal and all hating the other side no matter who is at the helm. They teach hate in the guise of humor. This is a big way that the propagandistic tools are used. Sorry, there's another siren. Oh my goodness. It's just the Matrix, dude. I'm telling you. It's been hitting you at all angles over here. It's just, if it's not that, I had some neighbor dumping stuff down the garbage chute for like 3 hours above me. So like every time that she opens up the stupid, trash compactor thing to dump her garbage down, now she can't just dump the garbage once a day. She's like clearing her whole house out of garbage apparently and deciding to dump it all down the garbage chute, one load at a time. To the point where I had to open the garbage chute on my floor and start screaming into the garbage chute, "Stop dumping stuff down the chute!" This is a crazy place. This doesn't make any sense. Things happen here that don't make any sense. And it's been going on for so many years. I could tell you so many different things that have happened that just don't make any goddamn sense. That are just like the Matrix there. It's like somebody clicked the switch. Let's bother this guy. Let's hit the bother button on this guy and just piss him off. Over and over and over again, just to get a rise out of you. To the point where I almost went crazy from it. where I'm like, I gotta move again. Where I gotta leave the whole place. I can't be here anymore. It's just I can't do it. The energy's wrong. Something is causing the energy to hit me, or something's hitting me where I'm just uncomfortable. A lot. I can't find my center space here anymore. Somebody hit the crazy button, I think, is what they did. Let's turn the crazy meter in New York up to like 9, right, or whatever, from 6 or whatever. Because it's just nothing's making any sense here. People are doing, now they want to make it more of a sanctuary city even. They want to make it that ICE can't do anything. ICE can't be near a courthouse. This is insane. ICE can't operate anywhere, basically. The police can't assist ICE in any way. What are you talking about? It's a federal agency. You have to assist them. What are you going to... You want to divorce from the United States, you can do, then you can't assist them. J.P. Morgan exec Lorna Hajini sues ex-banker Chirayu Rana for defamation over sex slave allegations. Iran vows to attack nations outside Middle East if Trump follows through on big hit threat. I was just checking to see if some construction was going to start outside on a Sunday. That's how crazy it's getting. I wouldn't be surprised if some dude just shows up, hey, we got to drill outside your house again. It's Sunday, though. Well, no, sorry. Okay, sure. Are you from the Matrix? You got to be from the Matrix, right? Because there's no way. It's like Sunday's illegal construction. Well, we're here. Hey. I remember one time guys showed up, I'm not kidding you, and they started to drill at like 11 or 12 o'clock at night right outside where I lived. I'm talking jackhammer dude, right, in the street, 12 o'clock. So I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's got to be some kind of an emergency, right? Because otherwise, why would you be doing this? How's anybody going to sleep now? So the drilling kept going till 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm fucking losing my shit. I got to work the next day. Finally, I said, Jesus Christ, do I got to go downstairs? And so I'm getting so worked up about it. I'm pissed off. I go downstairs, and I'm just standing there in the dark, like watching these guys from across the street. I guess the guy spotted me, the foreman. He got so concerned. Who's this guy just standing there? He ain't saying nothing. He comes over. I start saying, when are you going to be done, man? I got to wake up tomorrow. You're waking people's kids up. Is this an emergency, And then the guy goes... I'll never forget what the guy says. He's got like a Con Ed hat or whatever. He goes, yeah, you're right. Maybe we should stop drilling now. And then they stopped. And I'm standing there thinking, what the hell's going on, man? Yeah, you should have never started. What do you mean? And they just stopped and they left. I'm like, what is going on? Losing my shit, right? What is it, man? And then they leave, and then there's no threat. Why were you even here? Then you realize it's the Matrix, dude. It doesn't want you here. It's trying to make you get pissed off. And it could do whatever it wants to do that. It could put 50 different construction projects right near your house day after day until you lose your shit. What are you going to do? Call City fucking Hall? You can call 311. They don't fucking help you. New York lawmakers debate $250,000 gift for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding. Why should we have to pay for your security for your wedding for cops? Go have it somewhere in Rhode Island at your fucking house there. We don't need it over here. We don't want to deal with this bullshit. The Knicks crushed Cleveland last night. Kelsey was in the front row chugging beers trying to get the team worked up. That shit didn't work. You had Taylor Swift in the front row. That shit didn't help you. We got Spike Lee and 10 other celebrities. And we're bombing threes from all angles. I think the Knicks are going to take the whole thing. I think this is the year. If I look at it really closely, that's what I see. I can almost see Brunson with the confetti in his hair. I feel it's got to be, man, because we got gypped the last time around. I didn't forget that. We had, what was it, Smith under the backboard versus the Bulls one of those years? We had an easy layup that he missed. I remember that, and we lost. We should have beat Chicago. One of those years, we should have beat Chicago and got to the finals. We never did. I think we lost to Chicago in the finals. I'll have to go find it. We lost a game, I remember, we should have won. We got gypped. And ever since then, we never had the squad again. Ever since Ewing and that squad, Starks, Ewing, Starks, Ewing, Skywalker, that kind of crew, who was like sort of before Ewing. But, you know, Starks, Ewing, Oakley, that crew, we never had that kind of crew ever again. And, like, the way I'm watching the Knicks this year, it looks like that's the team because they're playing selfless basketball there. If it's not completely rigged, which it may be, but they're blowing people out, like, by, you know, they're scoring like 140 points in some of these games. It's, like, insane. They're shooting so many threes, even, like, Anthony Towns can shoot threes. The center can shoot threes, so. And just like everything's clicking right now. And we're playing strong D, so. Yeah, if you want to bet on something, I feel pretty sure about the Knicks. But Wembanyama's definitely going to be something to deal with, right? He's a monster. What's Wembanyama's wingspan, like 8 feet wide? Guy's like a bird flying around in the freaking court, right? Blocking everything. 8-foot wingspan. U.S. is expected to unveil charges against ex-Cuban President Raul Castro. So that's a little late coming, right? The guy's on like 1 foot in the grave. But it's something. I mean, I feel like Cuba's got to fall at this point. But then what happens to it then? What are they going to have, like normal elections with Dominion voting machines? Are they going to have a capitalist society? I mean, what happened last time they had that? It was like all organized crime was controlling the whole fucking place, right? You had a corrupt person running the whole country who was in the pocket of organized crime, who was allowing organized crime to open up casinos and hotels there, and organized prostitution rings, drug rings, etc. As well as control some of the sugarcane, I'm assuming. Surrey, England police investigating old cases involving Epstein. My point is that Cuba's going to take a long time to fix. You can't just insert a fucking McDonald's every other corner and some liquor stores and some Apple stores and think it's going to fix itself. That's not going to be that quick. You're going to have to build out a whole fucking cities and infrastructure and wire them up. And they're not even wired for proper internet. I mean, it's going to take a while. And billions and billions of dollars of investment. And the U.S. doesn't have that money to give them right now. Bolivia rejects state of emergency amid protest violence. UPI News. Insane video shows MTA car explode in huge New York City fireball near Wall Street's Charging Bull. So there was a huge explosion. I don't know what this was, but it didn't look normal. It didn't look like a normal car explosion. It was way too big. They tried to. It was like a bomb or something, but it was more like a not a sort of concussive bomb, as it was more than like a fireball type bomb. Could have been an electric vehicle, maybe, but it's something really big. I mean, the way it blew up, it looked big to me. I was like, what the hell is that? Is that a device? Or when you can see, this thing blew up huge. It looks like a freaking explosion. Right? That doesn't look like necessarily a normal gas car. People were running for their lives down there. And this is like early in the morning. There's the car. It looks like it could have been an electric vehicle, but I'm not sure. Those tend to burn super hot, right, when they go catch fire. Don't want to be caught in one of those if it gets caught on fire, right? No. It was an MTA car. Okay, so it may have been an electric vehicle. A lot of city cars are electric. Gavin Newsom stepped into clear homeless encampment outside NFL legend Marshawn Lynch's family home. Okay, what about the rest of the city? That's great. I mean, I'm happy that Marshawn Lynch's home is clear, but and all homeowners should have the same, right? You shouldn't have there's loitering laws in most cities for that reason, right? A homeless or a person or whoever can't just set up a tent outside of where you live, right? Outside your building, outside your house where you live. You don't own the sidewalk, but neither do they. You shouldn't be able to set up a tent outside my house where you're blocking my access to the sidewalk in my street. Just the same way as like restaurants in New York try to break that rule where they set up a little sidewalk thing and you're not allowed to do it. Well, I can call the police on you and I can get you a ticket for that. You're still going to make a lot of money though, right? Trump quips he may run for Israeli prime minister after term in White House ends. Trump has previously joked that he may seek the presidency of Venezuela after leaving the White House, asserting he was popular in that country from removing President Nicolas Maduro. But are you? I mean, what if about all the people that starved to death in your first term while you watched that happen? Those people's relatives, if they're still alive, sure aren't your fucking fan. Right? But most of those people are all dead, so they don't have any memory anymore. Former Spanish PM Zapatero investigated in kickback scheme. So there's all these, Spain has a big problem, right? They just let 500,000 illegal aliens come in, and it looks like this guy got kicked back some money to let it happen, right? He's the former Spanish prime minister. What all these NATO countries forced their members to do was to take in all these Muslim, military-age Muslim, mostly Muslim men, right? Who are of military age. If you go look at the lines of people coming into all these countries, they're not women. They're only letting men come. Why is that? Well, I think you can guess why. They're going to want to fuck something. No? Excuse my French. I'm from the Bronx and I'm from New York. We don't have much of a filter anymore, especially once you enter your 50s. So I apologize if sometimes I lay things out in a way that may disturb your sensibilities in some way. But if you're somebody that gets disturbed with your sensibilities very easily, you should probably go follow another channel. Somebody that can sauce it up for you a little nicer so that you're not disturbed. I tend to look at things in a very raw way because I'm upset. I'm angry. I'm somebody that has been abused by my own government, I'm assuming, and others, and lied to, just like you have been. I'm tired of being a number. I'm tired of being a slave to this fake corporation that's been created, and I'm also tired of doing this punditry show, watching other people get rich and profit who are lying to the public while I'm trying to tell the truth and make nothing. It kind of hurts, to be honest. Not my pride, but it hurts just my soul to see, because I don't like to see people misinformed and then having to, even to this day, at this point, tell my friends, no, actually, ivermectin won't kill you. Oh, you're really sick and you won't take the thing that'll help you? Well, they've convinced you not to take the thing that'll help you get better. That's how propagandized the public is. I mean, that's what I'm dealing with back here in the city, talking to people who still think that, ivermectin could kill me. Well, maybe if you take the whole fucking tube, but if you take the suggested dosage, it's probably not gonna. It's probably gonna kill what is killing you. But you won't even try it, right? I told her, drink some fucking tonic water then. And she's saying, I got long COVID for 4 years. Really? 4 years later, you still got a cold. It's the longest cold I've ever seen. You must have zero immune system left. 3 people dead, nearly 20 New Mexico first responders were hospitalized after exposure to an unknown substance. Now this turned out that I was right, it was fentanyl. I actually said, I thought I had wrote down possible fentanyl production site. I think I did in another posting of the same article with a different, from a different news source. Yeah, I mean, you walk into a fentanyl production site and you're not properly, you could die. Doesn't take that much fentanyl to kill somebody. That's the problem, is they're starting to mix it into coke, and some people didn't realize that you take a hit of that, you never took fentanyl before, you're dead. You might not be ready for it, right? That's got your body going all different directions, right? Fentanyl's a downer, it's a painkiller, hardcore. Coke is a stimulant. It's like giving your body a speedball. Like, what's the fucking point? Trying to give yourself a heart attack? It's the stupidest thing, right? You're mixing like heroin and coke and stuff like that. Why would you do that? You must be insane. Well, you are insane if you're doing cocaine in the first place. It's a horrible drug. It has no positive influence on the human condition whatsoever. Freud was completely wrong and a liar. He thought it was a wonder drug. He was wrong. MSG will stay put as Trump team announces $8 billion for a Penn Station makeover. Right? Another makeover for a building that was already perfectly created when it was first created, and they had to keep fucking with it and rip that down. Right? That was like a cathedral. It was so beautiful, the original Grand Central Station they made. Or terminal or whatever. There's terminal and the station. They always people arguing what each one means. Rep. Nancy Mace proposes a constitutional amendment to ban foreign-born citizens from Congress. That should have already been there, I thought. Mace called the proposed joint resolution long overdue and said that it would apply the same standard the Constitution already requires for the president and vice president. I wrote this should have already been law. Omar and others have made a mockery of our political system and have been long protected. Especially Omar. Minnesota's Quality Learning Center raked in $215,000 federal payout. Senator demands receipts. The Learing Center, right? Remember? Learing, learning spelled misspelled. You got to be a real simpleton, right? To not be able to spell and then you put it on a place where you're supposed to be learning and smart, and you can't spell. Oh my goodness gracious! Wow, how far have we fallen? I mean, we're just in a shithole right now. New York has turned into a complete shithole. A lot of the blue cities are. They're even going down the sanctuary city hole even more. In New York, we have the whole New York infrastructure is filled with these rabid Democrats who are leftists now, and there's almost no Republican voice in New York anymore at all in New York City. Owner of daycare and viral Nick Shirley video charged as part of $4.6 million daycare fraud scheme. Yeah, but one of the guys got hardly any time. You got to seize all these people's assets. They should be doing 10 to 20 years. These are big crimes against the nation, using our system, abusing it. UK radio station mistakenly announces King Charles' death, an on-air blunder. I wrote, too bad they're wrong. Maybe he did die, though, and they just were actually reporting, and then they said, no, we don't want you to let that out yet. I mean, he doesn't look good. He doesn't look healthy. His fingers are massively swollen, his hands, which usually is a sign of poor circulation. He looks to be somebody that was probably a heavy drinker most of his life, I'm assuming. A lot of heavy drinkers have problems later in their lives with circulatory issues. They also have the red face a lot of the time. Alcohol is a horrible drug. You're much better off maybe smoking marijuana or just not doing any drugs would be the best, right? But people like to drink that booze. They love those spirits, right? Everything in moderation is not so bad. Some people like to drink wine. And, I'm not saying don't drink any alcohol. In my personal life, I stopped drinking alcohol about 6 or 7 years ago, although I did just have one beer about a month ago. So I didn't completely but I was, before that point, I don't think I'd had any alcohol in probably 4 or 5 years or 6. So, and it didn't taste particularly good. Actually, when you don't drink it for a long time, you can sort of feel the effects it has on your body right away. The circulatory effect I could feel almost right away. Actually, the bodybuilders used to take a little shot of vodka or something right before they went on stage to restrict to make their vascularity stand out a little bit more. Actually, I think Arnold used to do that. So alcohol has horrible effects on your liver, obviously, on your circulatory system. It is not good for you. Of course, do whatever you like in moderation. I'm not ever telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what I chose not to do. When I did stop drinking alcohol, it also helped to open my third eye more and to decalcify my pineal gland, things of that nature. I don't think you can open your third eye fully if you're an alcohol consumer. It's sort of why they created it, part of the reason. Netanyahu, beside himself with rage, after furious phone call with Trump over Iran war that left the Israeli leader with his hair on fire. And I skipped this article. The Nimitz carrier strike group arrives in the Caribbean as Trump admin ups the pressure. So it's a strike group. It's not just one ship. A strike group is multiple ships, right? They have support ships to the other ships. They don't just, might be a destroyer in that as well, right? We're not sure. Aircraft carrier, maybe a destroyer or other. Who knows? Maybe a sub. I'm not sure what the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group consists of. Is that what it was called? Nimitz Carrier Strike Group? Yeah, Nimitz Carrier Strike Group. The Nimitz Carrier Strike Group is the operational nickname for Carrier Strike Group 11, CSG-11, a United States Navy unit based at Naval Station Everett, Washington. The group is centered around the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Nimitz, which serves as the flagship and operates under the U.S. Third Fleet. It has an air wing element, Carrier Air Wing 17, which includes FA-18EF Super Hornets, EA-18G Growlers, and E-2D Hawkeyes, and MH-60 Seahawks. Support ships. The group typically includes Destroyer Squadron 9 assets such as the Guided Missile Destroyer USS Gridley, DDG-101, and the Replenishment Oiler USNS Patuxent, TAO-201. That's pretty interesting. So you can see that strike group is not just the USS Nimitz. It's an air wing carrier. There's F-18s involved. There's Growlers. There's Hawkeyes. There's multiple aircraft and support ships. Here is your Holocaust. We burned them like a barbecue. Trailing footage reveals full extent of massacre overseen by Butcher of the Century, Sudanese warlord, as his troops killed thousands. So this guy's going through his country butchering people like it's going out of style. He's like the modern day Idi Amin, basically. And he's just, the only difference is that this guy likes to record the shit he's doing. So there'll be no problem in charging this guy with any kind of war crimes if you can ever get him to the International Criminal Court, which you probably won't. But this guy's crazy. He's just going through the whole country just killing people like it's going out of style. He's causing a lot of negative energy out there. That's people like this. Mysterious circular structures spotted near Area 51 sparks theories of UFO landing site. There was one thing, I think it was also X-Files, where there's some kind of like there's a landing pad there that goes under the ground, right? Like an elevator where they can bring the craft up to launch. I'm probably sure there's something like that there, although I've never been to Area 51 as far as I know. U.S. levels criminal charges against ex-Cuban President Raul Castro, double confirmation. Birth tourism facilities for foreign moms prosper in Houston. Yeah, they're all over the country. They're in L.A., New York, Boston, probably too. A couple of others. They're all over the place. There's millions of Chinese people that should be deported. There's millions of them. Millions of them. Think about that for a minute. And there's tongues here that are doing illegal stuff. There's illegal Chinese gangs. I mean, I remember back in like the 80s and stuff that people talking about the Chinese gangs in the city. Ghost Shadows and other gangs. So they exist. They're still out there. They're just underground more. Like the Italian Mafia went more underground after what Giuliani did to them. They had no choice but to go more underground. They became too public. Right? Omertas, why they could last so long before was because of Omerta, because nobody spoke about what they were doing. Nobody even knew about. The government had no idea there was a commission or groups that were operating in unison with each other all across the country until even into the 50s. So these guys, the commission and these people had 20 or 30 years where they're operating basically unobstructed and unobserved by the government. Or the government knew about them, but they weren't doing anything about it. Of course the FBI knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing back in Prohibition times. TikTok trend claims listening to songs tuned to 432 hertz can reset your brain. So does it really work? I don't know if it resets your brain, but it's better than listening to it at 440. 440 is a tone that's not resonant with the human brain. It can make you agitated or angry. I mean, don't you remember listening to the heavy metal stuff? Yeah, it got you fucking amped up, but it's doing something to you. Some of that death metal, some of that super heavy metal, Black Sabbath stuff. Yeah, it sounds fucking good. It's the riff tones, right? Those three tones. Dun, 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 right? Bum, bum, bum. Those three tones, that's the evil right there. That's metal, right? And then, they say, what did they say? Some guy said that most of the biggest pop songs and rock songs use only 4 chords. That's it. A lot of songs use only 4 chords that you might know. They're using the same 4, but just in a different way. But it's the same melodies, right? I think that's why classical music sounds so good. The original stuff, right? Because it wasn't at 440. It was created at the right megahertz level. Yeah, I mean, I remember, like I said, my friend plays the organ, and a couple times I've gone to the church where he's played one of the organs, and he's doing some Bach pieces, organ, and it's unbelievable. When he gets into those grooves, man, holy cow, your whole brain starts lighting, firing up, yep. It's just unreal. The way the sound is in the church, especially, and that organ, is just... When he gets into some of those melodic things, wow, it can do some real good for you, I think. And I'm not saying, hey, go to church and get healed, you're going to be healed. I'm not actually saying that, but I'm just saying there is something to the argument that churches were used to be healing places, that the bells would heal you. They were made out of a certain kind of copper or whatever they were made out of that would resonate a certain tone. I do believe that. That's why these people burn down churches like they're going out of style, because they want to destroy that. New York was hit with some flash floods. I'm assuming we are again, because it's been raining since yesterday, on and off now. It's still raining here. Quite a bit. I think we got at least a couple of inches, but we are sort of in a dry drought spell almost, so we do need this rain. I'm just surprised at how chilly it is. Biden DOJ protected the SPLC grift because the hate group was literally training its prosecutors, report says. That's a Red State article. Feds probe suspicious oil trades worth $800 million made just before major Iran war news. This is interesting. Because you didn't have to be that smart to figure that one out, right? If you're an experienced options trader and you saw the political environment, you could probably have made some long-term bets on. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you have the right knowledge, it is. You would probably make a lot of money. Excuse me. Dem DAs are threatening to charge ICE agents who look for illegals at polling places. Dems need illegal alien votes to win, I wrote. That's fact. Trump says he's given Iran 2 or 3 days. It looks like they're going to make an agreement, and I had read something that said that Iran was going to give up their... What was it? Uranium dust? Something, that's a new term. Some kind of dust. But are they going to give up all the yellow cake or whatever, all that? What if they give you all the uranium, and I'm assuming they have uranium in their own country? Wouldn't they just mine more? And not tell you that they have it? What's the difference? Or what if China or Russia gives them more uranium clandestinely? You'll never know. So you see how fake this whole thing is about... Oh, Iran can't have a nuke. That's the excuse these people have been using to mess with Iran the whole time. Right? U.S. firm receives contract for manufacturing fully indigenous permanent magnets for defense use. In 2024, as per IEA, China accounted for around 60% of global mining output for rare earths used in magnets, which include neodymium, praseodymium, dysprosium, and terbium. That's interesting. Because, what can you also do with opposing magnets? You can create free energy, right? If I put opposing magnets, and then I put another sphere that can rotate in between those two with other magnets around it, right, with a copper wire wrapped around it, I can create electrical charge. Right? For free. That's what people are realizing. The bigger the magnets, the more electrical charge I could create. So it's not, now what is the U.S. trying to do? They want to control most of the magnets so that you can't get those big magnets, I'm assuming, anymore, right? And you can't make the free energy. They want to have control of most of those magnets. But it's also for rare earth mining. They want to control, we need more control of rare earths in this country. New York City, New York politics. Mayor Mamdani announces $1,000 $50 World Cup tickets for New Yorkers. I'm assuming those are what, some nosebleeds, right? Are those going to be anywhere close to the fucking field where I can even see the ball? Probably not, right? Although a soccer stadium, I don't know what soccer stadium they're going to use. The Meadowlands, that's a huge stadium. If you're way back up in the nosebleeds, you're not going to be able to see the ball too well. Trust me. It's like going to the U.S. Open and sitting at the top. You just don't bother. You can't even see the ball from up there. It's not worth it. You'd rather be better off watching it on TV at your house with a beer. I'm not going to even watch. I don't really like soccer that much. I've never been a big soccer fan. I do sometimes watch if the U.S. is doing well. Like in the World Cup, I'll watch. Sure. I'll root on my squad, no question. I'm USA all the way, no question. But, USA has not really been too big in the soccer world until just recently, right? I mean, if you go back to the 80s, I don't think we had done too well in the World Cup before. The 90s and before the 2000s period. Soccer's never that big of a sport in the U.S. It requires a huge amount of space to play. Excuse me. And it also requires top fitness level, right? You have to run like so much, or even more than tennis. And most kids don't like to run that much. DOJ brings on more than 80 immigration judges to expedite deportations as of January. DHS claimed to have overseen the departure of 3 million illegal aliens through a combination of physical deportations and voluntary exits. That is quite a bit. That's getting somewhere, sort of now, right? That's starting to make a dent. That's a big deal. But if you really think about what is the end number that has to be, I think that the U.S. has got to be under 300 million population. That's more like a 280 million is more going to be what it should be, which is a huge difference. Think about it. The Democrats don't want that because those lesser people, the lesser votes that are going to be starting to go towards the Republicans, they're seeing the future now, and they've gone already on. Come out as going even further left than they had been before, which is going to alienate even more of their voters. So they have to replace them with somebody, and that's these people they're bringing in now. Residents stand to lose everything as more than 30 homes seized by private company to build Georgia data centers needed to power AI. So they're using eminent domain now in Georgia to do this, in parts of Georgia to do it. And if you're pissed off, one of the guys, and the guy who's building the one in Utah is the guy from the show, the Millionaire Show, where they, buy into different. He's one of those assholes. So go start protesting and calling him and protesting there where he does his business, because that's when legally, peacefully protesting there where he does his business, because he's the one that's building that data center. He's part of it. Mysterious fossils found across the U.S. could prove famous Bible story true. Now they're saying Noah's Ark was real and that, yeah, it did happen. And I feel like it did probably happen. But why did the flood really happen? Was it to kill man that had gone bad, or was it the Nephilim? I think it was to kill those giants, right? That's why all those big trees got to get chopped down, because they could have climbed up those trees, right? And that's why all the big trees are gone. Imagine what those used to look like. Imagine the view from up there. Colorado Dems censure fellow party member Governor Polis for commuting sentence of Trump ally Tina Peters. As a result of the censure, Polis cannot be an officially recognized representative of the Colorado Democratic Party at the group's events or functions, nor can he attend as a featured guest. Georgia residents, I still don't know what the hell happened with that whole thing. That's just a mystery to me. Georgia residents stand to lose everything as home seized by private company again. Double confirmation. Data center from New York Post. Tulsi Gabbard's glamorous ex-CIA deputy and RFK Jr.'s daughter-in-law quits White House as Trump faces mutiny. Okay, so the ex-CIA deputy just leaves. Then Gabbard steps down right after her office was allegedly raided or certain documents are taken out of her office that allegedly pertain to things such as MK Ultra, Monarch Ultra, right, which is the mind control stuff that they were doing, which there's other versions of, as well as some of the assassination files pertaining to JFK. So, and RFK Jr. is all up in a tizzy about that, saying you guys illegally took those documents back. They're not supposed to be taken. So what's going on with the CIA? Because that guy's supposed to be loyal to Trump, who's running it, and he doesn't appear like he's acting like he is. Did Trump order the CIA to do that? We don't know, and nobody's asking. Stunning sign: Trump losing party. White House crisis summit scrapped as Republicans knife president over $1.8 billion fund for J6 riders. Well, yeah, plus the ballroom's costing $1 billion, and you can't explain why it's costing that much. What's going to be underneath it that costs that much to create? You could even make a whole military base for way less than $1 billion. They would have multiple buildings and all kinds of shit, right? Mamdani live stream bombed with images of male anatomy as mayor gets hard lesson on internet trolling. So Mamdani's first live stream didn't go too well. It looks like a lot of people aren't too happy with Mamdani. What did they give male anatomy? What were they doing? Like penises or something? What were these people doing? What do you mean male anatomy? What were you, like, putting out pictures of male bodies? The internet trolls had a ball. Chronically online mayor Zoran Mamdani was given a hard lesson on how live streams can go wrong as trolls bombed his Honor's weekly Twitch chat show with a hail of penis drawings. Oh my gosh. Twitch is its own microcosm, you know. People got attitudes in those chats, man, and they're allowed to say what they want to do, right? Ex-Prince Andrew probed over potential sex crimes at royal houses as cops appeal for victim survivors to come forward. It's amazing they can't get Andrew on any of this stuff. He's still out there. Death of longtime New York City kosher bakery owner, 75, found shot dead near Casino Lake, is ruled a homicide. I just thought that was interesting. Not an interesting, a sad story, really. This man was found shot, though. Why would you shoot this guy? Were they trying to extort him for money or something? I don't know. Subway takes sparks outrage as guest jokes that white people should be banned from sitting on stoops in Brooklyn. I wrote, this guy's a Pakistani bigot. I mean, do you know what Brooklyn was like years and years ago? It was completely white. In fact, Bed-Stuy was a heavily Italian neighborhood before it was what it is now, which is not heavily Italian. So neighborhoods in New York change over time. People live in neighborhoods, groups inhabit certain areas and then move out. Like, if you went to the Lower East Side back in the 1910, it was largely, Jewish and Italian. Now it's mostly Hispanic and black and different cultures, like some Asian where Chinatown spread out to the east. So Lower East Side's completely changed over time. Over time, Little Italy was bigger than it was in the past. Now it's smaller, and Chinatown sort of stayed the same, although maybe shrank just a bit. But, this guy's a bigot. He obviously doesn't understand the history of the city, and that at one point there was actually all white people living in the neighborhood that he thinks is now all black people should inhabit, or all Hispanics should inhabit. He doesn't understand the history of the place that he's living in. But moreover than that, he's just a bigot, right? Because he thinks that just because of someone's skin color should make it that they can or cannot sit on a stoop somewhere, which is kind of stupid, right? You just look like a stupid bigot. And that's exactly what he is. San Diego mosque shooter Caleb Vasquez. Sorry, his name is Vasquez, not Velasquez. I thought it was Velasquez, excuse me. Caleb Vasquez's family breaks silence on terror attacks. Say autistic son was brainwashed. So now they're reporting that the kid is autistic, which is even more strange. But also means that he probably was at some point saw maybe like a psychiatric person or a shrink, and that's always dangerous. I went to several shrinks and realized I'm never going back. This is a fucking whole thing is a fucking racket. The answers that you need are within yourself, right? The way to heal yourself is through yourself. That's what I realized. There's no outside source that can help you. There's no pill that you could take. There's no drug that you could take. There's no heroin you could smoke. It doesn't matter what drug you take. None of it's going to help. It's just going to help you to run away from the problem that you have the answer for. You have to go inside to heal, to transform, right? What is the, when a butterfly transforms, it's not just a butterfly first. It's the caterpillar, right? It goes into its cocoon. It goes inside to change, to manifest, to come back outside. Right? You have to go inside, then come back outside, then go back inside. Understand? And heal the rest if you want. Or maybe you healed everything, you've done all the work and you're done, and you've dealt with all your karma and your ego and everything. You've laid that all down. You've forgiven everybody that's harmed you. You've sent love to them, right? That's the way to freedom. I've told you that before because that's the way I found my freedom. I was trapped in hate. I was trapped in anger. I was constantly angry at somebody or something for the way my life had turned out, right? Not knowing what I know now, that my life, a lot of it was manipulated and I had no choice in it. And to some extent, we're all the same way, right? It's very hard to succeed in the system where they put you in. It's almost impossible. The only people that succeed are the people that they control. And those few that are so brilliant that they shine brighter than all the control that they can put, like a Tesla or someone like that, where they can't stop him, right? Because he's just so bright and he's so incredible that all they can do is seek to control it. But even Tesla, they killed him in the end, right? I wrote, shooters not white. Interesting. In the mosque shooting. U.S. arrests sister of powerful Cuban official over alleged ties to communist regime. Labor Department demands banks freeze nearly $1 billion in fraudulent COVID benefits. Again, the COVID thing was a big scam, right? Because it allowed them, people in their businesses, to take loans that against losses that they may or may not have incurred. And they got to take loans they didn't have to pay back. Teen suspect tied to 12 attacks in chaotic Austin shooting spree identified as what? An illegal alien. How unusual. I'm shocked. Hunter Biden denies that the Koch found at the White House in 2023 was his. I wasn't even there. All right, well, whatever. We already went into all that bullshit. I'm tired of talking about Hunter fucking Biden. We've already dissected Hunter Biden completely, and the information's in the videos that I put out there, linking him and his father to CEFC, linking him and his father to Yi Jianming, all the different Skenetalese LLC and all the different LLCs that he created in his name after the Finger Lakes in New York. We went down all that rabbit hole. We were this station was one of the few reporting on that, and then looked into Skenetalese LLC and other lakes and found other LLCs. I'm not saying we were the first to find them, but we were one of the few that reported it. I mean, I was, not we. I keep using myself in the third person. I wrote, ex-CDC Chief Robert Redfield fears that the Ebola outbreak is going to become very significant. I go, this seems to pop up every time they're trying to push a pandemic or scare tactic, right? It starts with the Congo, it starts with the Ebola again, and then it goes away every single time, right? Didn't one person come into the airport the last time with Ebola? Remember that? There was someone in the U.S. with Ebola. But it never spread, right? Lupita Nyong'o claps back at haters slamming her Odyssey casting. You can't perform beauty. So I wrote, why do they keep recasting movies with all white characters? They were originally created with white or other race characters with black characters over and over again, right? They keep doing the same thing. Trump in furious phone call with Pete Hegseth after defense chief's shocking blunder blindsides key U.S. ally. Yeah, that was about the Polish troops. He pulled those troops out. And we were supposed to send 5,000 troops to Poland for some reason. And then Trump turns around and says, Trump said that U.S. will deploy 5,000 more troops to Poland right after. Then I wrote, why does Poland need U.S. troops stationed there at all? What's going on there? Trump releases more UFO files with explosive photos. They didn't look explosive to me. It looked like a balloon got blown up. It looked like a balloon was floating and someone shot it. That's literally what it looked like. It did not look like a UFO at all. More UFO files. Was that the one with the one that looked like a balloon? It's like, what the fuck, man? This doesn't look like anything real. It's like the UAP flying over some area, stuff like that. But it's not anything like, okay, what's that? That could be anything. You could have made that up on some 1990s graphics tech. It looks like it's all the same bullshit. These gray images, you can't see nothing. It's a joke. You never went to space. Watch the awkward moment a conspiracy theorist confronts NASA's Artemis 2 crew, telling them to stop acting. So this guy did a fucking interesting experiment, right? He said if they went to space and they came back in to the atmosphere, then the metal of that spacecraft, the bottom of it, would be so hot, right, that when they hit the water, there'd be massive amounts of steam coming off of it, right? Because the temperature of that metal would be up to 4,000 or 5,000 degrees. Even at 2,000 or 3,000 degrees, and they put a metal into the water like that, there was huge steam. So they're saying, people are now saying that capsule actually got dropped out of a B-52 or something at 25,000 feet or whatever to make it look like it was coming back in, which that's definitely possible. They could easily get a big plane or a C-130 up there and just let that thing get sucked out the back, right, at 25,000 feet, deploy the parachutes, and then, it came back in. Here it is. Yeah, run the feed, right? You never went to space, the guy says. Tell these people to stop acting. He confronted these guys. Is it going to finally come out that this whole thing with NASA's fake? I don't know. But when is Trump supposed to be removed? These people keep telling me, Fulford and them, Trump's going to be removed any moment. He's going to be charged with crimes. Where are they? Nobody else got removed. Trump celebrates Stephen Colbert's final show with brutal no-talent swipe. As bitter host takes one last jab at CBS on the way out. 11 years of political propaganda over, I wrote. And good riddance. Let's hope the rest of these guys are all gone too. Because Kimmel and them are even worse. Trump warns of possible military action in Cuba, says I'd be happy to do it as Marco Rubio declares the nation a U.S. national security threat. Castro family legacy won't be a good one. It's going to turn out you ruined that place. Communism wasn't the way, right? Scary scene as first responders in hazmat suits rush to New Mexico hospital. I wrote possible fentanyl production site. That's what it turned out to be, right? That's the only thing that can kill you real quick like that. Jimmy Kimmel slammed over desperate plea for viewers to boycott CBS. Fire this asshole. I wrote, shows like these have done a lot of damage, especially to younger generations like generations Y, Z, and millennials. They were literally raised on it, and it's why they have the warped worldview that many have today. This is my opinion. In New York City, some of these same people are protesting against the agencies attempting to clean out their city from illegal aliens, whom they defend no matter what crimes they may have committed. It's like people defending an illegal alien that snuck in here. It's like, well, what is wrong with you? Why are you defending these people? You'll defend them until what? They kill one of your family members or hurt them, and then you'll be all on the other side of it, I guess. Looks like Ireland tried to do a George Floyd situation, where they had 10 guys restrain a black guy and then smother him to death, basically. He was a shoplifter after he was pinned down by security guards. They did another George Floyd incident, except it's in the wrong country. In other words, you think a bunch of people in Ireland are going to give a shit about this black guy that got who's stealing from them, who was forced in their country. These people are at their wits' end. I've seen certain landowners forced off their land by some of these squatter groups and not allowed back on their land. I saw some video on X.com of that, of squatter groups, like large squatter groups taking over people's lands, certain people's farms. And that's where you say to yourself, you know what, if you own a farm, you better own some weapons. It's just, you used to have a whole bunch of guns around a farm, right? There's all kinds of animals needed to be killed and slaughtered and hunted and whatever, right? Or who knows, back in the day, you could have, if you were in Indian land where there was Indian, American Indians still, it wasn't settled, yeah, you better have weapons around. You better have a lot of weapons around and readily available, and make sure that rifle's clean, right? Because you're going to have to use it. These people are right at the point of dealing with it themselves and with violence, because there's no other way, because the government's the one that's doing it to you. How do you deal with that? Am I saying commit violence? No, that's never something you want to do. I'm saying that these people are at the point where they might have no other choice but to, if they want to get their government back. What do you think the people on January 6th were really thinking about doing when they were there? All they had to do was get inside the one Congress building where all they all were and arrest them all. They would have had the whole thing. We could have handled it all that day, but we didn't do it. Was that what some people thought that they were going to do going there? I don't know. Or did they think they were just coming to gather in there for something else, right? Because what would have happened if the people did storm the building in numbers enough where they got all these people, and they could have got Pelosi and arrested them all and then demanded public trials of these people? What would have happened then? I don't know. That was another timeline, I guess. Instead, what happened here was, as soon as the FBI and these people got word that they were going to do a big January 6th where people were going to come together, they said, well, what can we do to mess this up? How many FBI agents do we need to put into the crowd to rile these people up and get people violent and try to get them to storm inside the buildings, which was never the plan, right? That was never the plan of the people that showed up to January 6th, to storm the office, any of the Congress or the Senate building and take any of these politicians and arrest them or hurt them. That was never the plan of this thing. That's what they wanted you to think was. Mayor Karen Bass says LA should explore having non-citizens vote. Well, that's illegal. She argued that the policy makes sense given that non-citizens pay local taxes. No, they don't. What, when they go into a store they do? Okay, so they snuck in here. They have to pay the same for everything as everybody else. They don't pay income tax. They don't pay property tax. They don't own land. They can't. Actually, they can, right? What do those Chinese people, companies that own all that land, are they paying property tax to the different areas where they own it? I don't know. Are they? They should be. I wrote, what a joke. Non-citizens can't vote. That's why you're called a citizen. Actually, citizen was something that was used after they tried to free the black slaves and let them vote. They started to call them citizens. But what is a citizen? It's not the same meaning, right? It has a different meaning than what they were thinking it meant. Comer says alleged Epstein victim named 3 alleged abusers. She was very brave coming forward. The House committee interviewed Sarah Kellen in a closed-door meeting Thursday, which Comer said resulted in the most substantive and productive interview that we've had. Excuse me. When is it going to come out if Epstein's really dead or alive? Where is he if he's alive? Some people said he's in Israel. Why the sudden push for data centers everywhere? Here's what they're not telling you. It's the internet of bio-nano things or the internet of nano things. I think I got bio wrong. This is an article I was looking up about this. This was on Before It's News. It was actually a video, sorry. You can watch that. Why is every single town in America getting a data center? Nothing has ever expanded this quickly in American history with no public approval.
So I'm seeing a bunch of posts on the different social platforms. People just writing memes, what is why suddenly?
I just want to let this play for like a 5 minutes or so. It's kind of an interesting take on what he thinks is going on, but I think this guy's definitely got it down, so he can explain it way better than I am. So I'm just going to let this play for like about 5 minutes, a few minutes, and I'll be right back. Thanks, friends. We can listen in.
All these data centers. What are these data centers being used for? Oh my God, it's more surveillance. Talking about surveillance like the surveillance that we're used to with like cameras and stuff like that. It's about a lot more than just cameras. They need a place to store all of the biological data that they are collecting from all different biological systems, including our bodies, in the sustainable bioeconomy. A word that if you're watching alternative media or truthers or mainstream media, a word that you are not hearing about, but it is a word that your government is working off of globally, okay? So we're going to talk about the bioeconomy and biobanking today and explain why they're suddenly building all these AI data centers and deploying the AI the way that they're deploying it, changing healthcare the way that they're changing it, adding more AI into it, more computerized systems, less humans involved, more automation. It's all because there is a global agenda for a bio-digital convergence to create a bioeconomy. Like I said, words that you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about if you're still watching the alternative stream media, the so-called conspiracy theory truthers, or especially if you're watching mainstream media, you have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna read some articles to you today and hope that you start to catch on, and hope that you share this information with your friends and family and online and with people who are asking these silly questions that there are answers to, but you're never going to get it from the alternative media. It really appears that you're not going to get it from your conspiracy theory truthers. Let's talk about it, okay?
And just real quick, that's why you're not seeing the new banking system, because the new banking system these people are going to put in has to do with this, right? It's going to be connected to your actual DNA in some way, right? Where once they shut you down, they can shut you down forever and you'll never come back, right? Because it's connected with your DNA. Anywhere in the world you go, it'll find you and you won't be able to do anything, right? That's why I think part of they want to do this. And then also is the tokenization thing of making these tokens.
So here we are at Biodigital Today and Tomorrow. That's all I typed into Google, and it brings me to nothing but government websites, okay? A group called Policy Horizons Canada, and what they do is they create the blueprint for global policies, okay? It may be being done in Canada, but it's a global bioeconomy program. Canada basically writes the blueprint for the policies, and then all of the other 194 member states of the United Nations 2030 agenda copies and pastes that blueprint and then turns it into actual policy in their quote-unquote member state in their own countries. Okay, so right now we're going to go into
I just made a big piece of paper when the first thing on the first circle is biological banking, right? That's what they're looking to do now. It's about banking through your actual biological signature. Remember they were saying that that's how the new quantum system is going to be. Nobody will be able to forge your check or mess with your account because it's going to be hooked into your literal DNA. But what they didn't tell you is you have to give all your DNA to the man to get that new system. That's what they're not telling you, right?
Document by Policy Horizons Canada. And I'm not going to read this whole document because there's a lot of stuff in here, but I'm going to show you the most important pieces, okay? So you scroll down until you see 5.0 health, okay? And then now there's a lot of really interesting stuff in here, like the CRISPRization of humans, tracking human health in real time.
Right, that's what they were trying, right? They needed to get the thing inside your fucking body. That's how they can get the full control and then get all your DNA. They can map you from the inside out, right?
Right? What might change in the healthcare system in the future through this bioeconomy, biodigital convergence.
Biodigital convergence, using these different terms.
If you care about your future, and the future that your children are going to have to live in.
Here it is right here, biodatabase. DNA databases could become a source of income and health security. In the coming years, it could be possible and relatively simple to collect DNA information using a smartphone as biodata becomes more readily available.
Documents you're not going to ignore.
So you can watch this at your leisure. It's on Before It's News. I'll include the link. I'll try to include that link for this particular thing in the, in the bottom of it. But you can go on Before It's News, and it's entitled, Why the Sudden Push for Data Centers Everywhere. Here's what they are not telling you. So you can go search that title if you want on Before It's News. It's the Internet of Bio-Nano Things. Right? That's what he's talking about. Not the Internet of Nano Things, the Internet of Bio-Nano Things. This guy is alleging that they are storing all living things' physical health data. That's what they want to do. Right? That's the plan. That's why they want the data centers. That's why the need for all the data. It's going to be every single human being's complete genome. And everything else about you, right? Every email you sent, every other thing, all the data, like what LifeNet was going to be, right? Researchers want to link your genes and income. Should they? A push to calculate a genetic income score using giant DNA databases raises a raft of ethical questions. This article came out in Wired.com, April the 12th, 2019. You can go read that article. If you remember, one of the earliest digs I did and stories I did was something called the Human Stock Exchange, right? Which was talking about the fact that you've been commoditized as a human being when you're born, right? If you want to look into how that is more, you can go listen to like people like Jordan Maxwell talk about it, right? Where he's talking about the river banks in a river steer the water, right? What steers the water in a river? The river banks decide which way the water goes, right? The banks control the water. The water is the juice. The juice is you. The water is the money. The money's you. You've been turned into money. They want to link now your genes and income. A push to calculate a genetic income score. What does that mean? If I have certain DNA profile that they like, I'm rich now and you're poor because you have shitty genetics? Well, you know what that's going to mean, right? That 3/4 of the world is going to be poor because they don't have really that great genetics. That's just a fact. All right, maybe 2/3, whatever. The UK Biobank is the single largest public genetic repository in the world with samples of the genetic blueprints of 500,000 Brits standing by for scientific study. So you can see where this is going, right? They want all the information. They want all your data. They want all your DNA profile. They want everything. I'm getting a tone in my ear right now as I say this stuff, so I know I'm getting attacked. Hang on a second, guys. Sorry. It's gone. I mean, I'm hearing tones that I've never heard before, which means that it's got me scared. I'm pretty strong. I'm not suicidal in any way. I love life. Not right now, but I do. So if I do happen to disappear, you'll know that something happened to me. I didn't do it to myself. Okay, friends? Appreciate you. I am in no way unhappy. I am in no way suicidal. I appreciate life because it gives us a chance to experience, right? Researchers want to link your genes and your income. Wired. Decoding DNA data storage for investment, September 2020. Long ago, one of the first shows I did was called the Human Stock Exchange, right? You can go find that show. I think I have the link to it in this dig. This is an actual National Institute of Health study, I think. Hang on. Let's check this out. Because this is part of why COVID came. How can we get the sensor inside you that we can then determine your genetic worth? Well, I have to first get something inside you that I can map you out from the inside out. I can't map your genetic genome by putting you into any machine right now that we have, unless it's a med bed that they're not giving you access to. Right? In other words, I can't put somebody in a machine right now that'll scan you like a scanning machine will, like an MRI, and it's going to come up with my whole genetic profile. all my DNA sequences. I don't think they can do that with just a machine that scans you right now, right? They don't want that. They want a different way to get that information, which is that they have everybody wired up. Everybody has a chip in them, or a microdot, or a nano, or combinations of. Right? So we know where everybody is. We could track you. We could track your vital statistics. We can completely map your DNA out. And then we can identify all the people in the world that have a certain DNA profile that we're looking for, and either kill them or enslave them or clone them and then kill them, right? And then we have control of everybody. Because there's certain, like for example, the bloodline of Jesus Christ is still around, as far as some of these people are saying. And certain bloodlines that are very powerful, that are being protected because they have a certain resonant level that is needed. This is a study the National Library of Medicine did called Decoding DNA Data Storage for Investment. This study was done in September of 2020, so right around the time what was happening, the COVID thing was coming out. Right? Isn't that interesting? So now you know why COVID came out when it did. It was because they had to get this stuff inside you. They had to get nano inside every human being if possible, because then we can completely map you out. We can use that nano to form into little microcomputers and micros in systems that could beam out information out of your body, right? Remember when those people were going to the cemetery and they were still coming up with like Bluetooth signals were coming out of these people, the nano that was still in their bodies even though they were dead and decaying? I'm assuming once the body fully decays, that nano is no good anymore. Right, because it doesn't have anything to live inside of, like the bone it can't live in, right? Unless they could put it directly into your bone structure. Let's hope that's not true. Usually right now it's circulating within your bloodstream, right? But once your body decays to a point, I'm assuming that nano's all gone. It just goes into the earth or wherever. But it still might be giving off a signal, right? Depending on its power source. So they were looking into this back in 2020. While DNA's perpetual role in biology and life science is well documented, its burgeoning digital applications are beginning to garner significant interest. This is the Human Stock Exchange. Exploring biodigital convergence. What happens when biology and digital technology merge? Again, February 2020. Right when COVID's just beginning, right? Horizons.service.canada. Understanding biodigital convergence. The term biodigital convergence denotes the convergence of engineering, nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, and cognitive science. While the concept is at least 20 years old, developments in the area have been turbocharged by the fast-paced changes and evolution of information and digital technologies. No, it's been supercharged because we got to make it look like it's supercharged because we've been doing this shit for so long now and we've gotten so advanced that we can't even bring this out yet because it's going to be so drastic that people are going to say, what are you talking about? You want to map my entire DNA profile? No, I don't want to give you my entire DNA profile. You shouldn't have that information. Here's the Internet of Nano Things, IONT, a comprehensive review from architecture to security and privacy challenges. I wrote, this is why they need the data centers. They need all of everyone's personal as well as health data and genetic data, every person's DNA. Fully mapped. That's why they need it. It's the Internet of Nano Things. The next step, right? The first step is Internet of Things. Devices communicating with each other. But this is nano now. It's gone down to that level, right? Governments pay hefty settlements for threatening jailing people who share political memes. Hawaii legislator must approve a $118,000 payment to the Babylon Bee activists who blocked ban on materially deceptive election content. Tennessee County pays $835,000 to ex-cop jailed for meme response to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Well, you can't jail somebody for putting out a meme that you might find offensive about Charlie Kirk. You have a right to free speech still in this country, although not in Great Britain, it appears, where people are actually being arrested, some of them who are having cops come to their house, right? I saw some cop come to one woman's house, say, well, you said some things on the internet. She says, you got to get the hell off my property right now. Get out of here. I don't have to tell you anything about what I said. What I said is my private business. I'm not breaking any laws. I didn't threaten anybody. You have no right to come to my home and question anything I've said online and try to cower me and try to stop me from speaking and try to intimidate me. NASA says strange red dots in the sky are an unknown class of object that looks like a huge evil eye. Well, that's not good. I guess that's what I'd put out there if I was trying to like make a fake blue beam or fake alien invasion type thing. That's the thing I don't understand. If there's good aliens here and they're trying to help us, why don't they just figure out a way to do it where you won't freak everybody out so bad? There has to be a way you can do that and stop letting us suffer like this year after year after year. Or maybe they can't help us. We got to help ourselves. And that's why these groups come out, to make it sound like someone's going to come help you, but there's no one coming. And then when nobody comes and these people keep saying that they're going to come and they never come, you get bewildered and you get depressed, right? After a while, you just decide, hey, I can't figure it out. It's all too big of a puzzle, right? And that's what they bank on. I'm just going to stop caring anymore because the puzzle's too big. I don't know who these guys are, but we're trying, but I don't know what we can do to beat them, right? What are we going to do? And it's true. I mean, what can we do? If we can't even all come together and as one people and realize that we have a problem first, right? That's what we have to do. That's why they don't want anything about aliens to come up, because it brings us together in our common humanity and lets us realize that we're not the only people in the universes, in the galaxies anymore that exist. We're just one group. And that makes us come together in a different way, right? Cuba accepts millions in U.S. aid as Rubio demands freedom from communist rule. The Big Money Show panel discusses Cuba accepting $100 million in U.S. humanitarian aid as Senator Rubio blames communism for the island struggles. Oh, it's definitely communism. Is a big part of it. They could have been much better off being an open trading partner with the United States, but then again, if you're an open trading partner with the United States, then organized crime groups will be back in Cuba. That's the problem. House Republicans pull vote on Iran war powers measure, UPI News. Greenlanders are protest opening of new U.S. consulate in Nuuk. Here's the Human Stock Exchange show from 5 years ago I did. Part 1, the commoditized human. It's not a long show. You could watch it at your leisure. It's one of the older ones I've done. It's talking about how you are commoditized, how your birth certificate is used to, your birth certificate number as well as your social security number is used to create bonds in your name. 30-year bonds that existed. You can look up, and I showed you how to do that too. And if you look it up the correct way with the proper search parameters, you'll pull up bonds that have your social security number as well as your birth certificate number, and you could do it that way. They do them for both, and it's all throughout your life. And these 30-year bonds are paying out thousands and thousands of dollars of interest to somebody who's buying them, but not you. Somebody is buying human bonds that are issued against your straw man name and your straw man number and profiting off of that your whole life. Think about that. Every single month that you're alive, from birth till you die. That's what the Human Stock Exchange is, literally. That was how we all got started. So it's kind of an interesting way that we're ending sort of in the end process of this, and now you're seeing how they were going to do it. This is how they're going to do the Human Stock Exchange. They're going to make every human the commoditized human using your genetic structure as what you're worth. In other words, this guy's got some high-end stock, right? You ever see these people, they like to, a lot of these stars, like these beautiful people get together, they have children. Why? They want to have another beautiful person, right? They want the genetics. That's the whole reason why groups came out and said, hey, we want to talk about like people's genetic makeup. We really don't want to breed with these people over here. It's going to mess up our genetic stock. Certain groups of people think like that, right? Tulsi Gabbard resigns as Director of National Intelligence due to husband's bone cancer diagnosis. My husband Abraham has recently been diagnosed with an extremely rare form of bone cancer. I wrote, was she forced out? I'm assuming she was. Maybe not, but I'm assuming she was. Because of actually what just happened with their office, where they were getting ready to release these documents. All of a sudden the CIA comes in. Anything related to MKUltra, they're not going to want to touch it, right? Why? Well, because I told you why. It leads back to kids. That's why when they got discovered in the mid-70s, they just moved everything to Canada and they just kept doing it under different project names. They weren't. And then they continued to do it also in the United States later, clandestinely. I think what happened with the MK part of it later was that they realized that breaking people into altars like this is it's a problem in a lot of ways. Not just that it ruins the person, but that over time that programming would break down and people would begin to remember what happened to them and seek damages. And therefore, it would get back into the public how badly they were really doing this stuff. Not only that, but to then get into the fact that some groups may have been promising alien groups certain amounts of humans to experiment and or consume, right? Which I think has been going on for a long time. That's where all the people disappearing in the parks and shit is happening. Mom Donnie launches Twitch stream without moderation, gets bombarded with spam and sexually explicit comments. Even if you had a moderator, they wouldn't have been able to get all that out quick enough. Mom Donnie fielded questions from the audience such as, where can you get the best tacos, before there was a heavy stream of unmoderated comments. DHS chief wants to halt customs processing at all airports in sanctuary cities. So no customs? What? There'll be a lot of drugs getting moved in. Even Sean Duffy's pushing back. Explosive video of U.S. fighter jet shooting down UFO over Michigan revealed. This is the one I thought looks like some guy just shot a balloon. It looks so fake. I mean, if it's a UFO, why is it going to be moving so slow? It looks like a balloon got popped. Government is doing a slow rollout of mundane stuff that gets more specific and dramatic with each release to not blow the public's minds. That's what some people are saying. I don't buy it. Come out with the most explosive shit right away. That's what you should be doing. I want to see people being eaten by reptiles. I want to see people in regen tanks being cloned out. I want to see the bases underneath there. I want to see people in fucking cages. Or else, what have we been talking about all these years? We need to have confirmation of all this stuff, because what's been happening all these years is certain people on one side are telling their families, hey, look, at all this stuff's going on, you can't see it. And they're like saying, well, I can't see it. What do you mean? What do you mean people are in cages? Where? Oh, in dumbs under the ground? Well, where are they? We can't see them. How do I know it's real? You don't. Oh, well, this guy Gene Decode said it's real. We don't know what he looks like, and he's claiming to have like psychic powers. He claims that he saw God, that he had a near-death experience and saw God. I had a near-death experience. I didn't see God. I didn't see anything. I'm not saying God doesn't exist. I'm just saying I didn't see God. I wasn't hanging out with God like this guy's claiming he did. Russia arms missiles with uranium and Ukraine strikes, triggering radiation spikes. So they're dropping uranium on these guys. Why doesn't Russia just use its air force and end this thing already? They could have. Mamdani met with radical anti-Israel sheikh multiple times after he praised Hamas attack for inspiring great change. Trump mocks nice woman Kathy Hochul's groveling phone calls. Apparently she's calling him all the time. Can you help us with this and that? And then she badmouths him right after. Governor Hochul strikes $557 million sweetheart pension deal with Albany, only footing a fraction of the bill. So she didn't even foot the whole bill for it. How are they going to pay this thing? Fox News debunks Maskgate interview theories after Admiral appeared to be wearing a prosthetic. Looks like the guy's got a mask on to me. They're saying it's a shadow with the software they use. But looks like the dude's wearing a mask to me. I mean, it's even folded up. It looks like the edge got folded up on itself, and you could see it like it came loose from where it's attached or where it was tucked in. That's not a glitch. They're saying that's software. I don't buy it, dude. That looks like he's wearing a mask to me. I don't know. It's up to you. You figure it out for yourself. Hantavirus X-Files episode, YouTube, we just watched. Here's a neo-Nazi conspiracy theorist unleashes a vile anti-Semitic attack. And what a piece of crap this guy is. He goes up to this guy who I guess is Jewish, and there's a cop right there and does nothing and lets this guy just go off on this dude, calling him all kinds of nasty words and getting right up in his physical space, and the cop does absolutely nothing. I couldn't believe it. MSG Knicks watch party permits denied after cops complained of drunk and rowdy crowds. You can't have a watch party for this in the street. Kidding? No, that's going to be too loud, too crazy. There're going to be people screaming every other basket. It's going to be, if you live anywhere around where this is, you're going to be pissed off, calling the cops. It's just a no. If you want to watch the game, go to a bar, go to a friend's house, whatever. This shouldn't be a street event. Sorry. And you're not that poor. If you can't go to the game, I get it. The tickets are expensive, but you can afford to go to a bar. Grab a couple beers, right? Most people can. If not, then just sit back at your house and watch it on your fucking TV like the rest of us. Why would you want to hang out in the street and watch it on some crappy screen that's not even that big, where you got to stand the whole 4 hours or whatever for the game? Doesn't sound great. Illicit version of fentanyl linked to deadly New Mexico incident. So there's a new fentanyl they made? It's more dangerous? Great. I'm almost done, guys. Trump posts AI-generated video of himself throwing Stephen Colbert into a dumpster after late-night episode, final late-night show. That was kind of funny. People in U.S. on a visa who want a green card must leave to apply. That's a big deal because now you got to leave. Can't stay here illegally and do it. Why would you bother applying? They don't even know. They're not going to find you probably. Most people are staying here without one. Honduras orders military intervention after mass killings. Tennessee death row inmate's execution was called off for a year over vein issues. They couldn't find a vein. You could have shot him up in his neck. Or his femoral artery in his leg, I think it's called. Why didn't you shoot him up there? So what, you couldn't find an arm vein? And so there he gets another year of life? I don't get it. That's weird. They should just shoot you in the head anyway. It's cheaper. Guillotine, right? Very economical. Guillotine, super economical. Hardly ever breaks. Doesn't cost much. Bullet's cheap. I mean, doesn't cost much for a bullet. Democrat Tom Steyer cuts gubernatorial campaign event short as black protesters confront him over reparations. How are you going to cut the check? They want their reparations cash now. 40,000 people evacuate California City as chemical tank leaking toxins could explode on Thursday. A storage tank containing between 6,000 and 7,000 gallons of methacrylate overheated and began leaking vapors into the air. I wrote, they're cleaning out California. Whites-only Arkansas town sued for discrimination. We do view Jewish origins as having their roots in the Near East, and so they wouldn't fall under the category of European heritage. Oh, so there's no Jews either. Okay, gotcha. No blacks, no Jews, no Asians, no anybody else, right? Just straight whites of European heritage only. That sounds a little like the Nazi Party. Sorry. Hochul poised to sign bill officially making New York a sanctuary state for illegal immigrant criminals. The message from Governor Hochul and her fellow sanctuary politicians is clear. Criminal illegal aliens are welcome in New York, the DHS said. I wrote New York is basically lost. I don't see a way to fix it now with the current political parties who are in control. It's the Democrats have so much power that they cemented it to the point where there's almost no Republican say in anything. The Democratic Party has ruined this place, period. I don't think it can be fixed unless all of this rot is just all of it removed and a new system is put in who can look into the books for the last 100 years and really find out how much was stolen. It's hundreds of billions that's been stolen. In just New York alone, I'm assuming, over all this time. Inside the CIA's Wild West era of mind control, bioweapons, and secret human experiments, so all kinds of stuff like that's been going on. I try to think back if I was experimented on. I'm assuming I was. I just don't know, I don't have much memory of a lot of my prior life, of my whole, I was just talking to my mom, and I said, I don't remember, third grade, at all. None of it. And, I don't know about you, but maybe you can't remember that either, but, do you not remember, a whole school year? Because I can't. My third and even my fourth grade is sort of like a blur. And then when I hit fourth and fifth grade, I had a teacher that was constantly throwing me out of the class saying that I was disruptive. And so I spent about a third of my fifth grade year, a third of the year in the hallway. And I don't even have full memory of that time. So in other words, where's all my, memories? They're gone. I don't even have some of them. Federal judge dismisses human smuggling case against Kilmore Abrego Garcia. The objective evidence here shows that absent Abrego's unsuccessful lawsuit challenging his removal to El Salvador, the government would not have brought this prosecution. RFK Jr. blasts CIA for reportedly seizing Uncle JFK's assassination records. It's illegal. I wrote, who ordered the CIA into Gabbard's office and get those documents and why? Are you trying to cover up MKUltra experiments that were done on children and adults? Because we have factual proof now that they were done. Right? We showed you those documents where the CIA had to produce that showed that they were experimenting on children under the guise of, this is a different kind of this is just we're doing a research thing. We need people to don't join our research for this. It's this, and then all of a sudden you're getting fed LSD against your will. You don't even know it, and stuff like that. Whistleblower on Minnesota COVID fraud demands Rep. Ilhan Omar testify on $250 million scheme. Trump poised to end one of America's most hated traditions, clock changes for daylight savings time. That's something I'm all for. We need to get rid of daylight savings time. Magnitude 6.0 earthquake strikes Hawaii's Big Island. USGS assessing Kilauea volcano. That's not good. Ex-doctor who wrote, I love being a pedo, pleads guilty after FBI bus revealed sick messages. Thank goodness people like this are not in the... How many others are out there, though? Trump says an agreement has been largely negotiated between the U.S. and Iran. Gunman who believed he was Jesus Christ opened fire on White House checkpoint was neutralized by Secret Service. Just a few more articles on top. I already covered that RFK Jr. blasted the CIA for seizing his uncle's stuff. His JFK's assassination records. Ex-mob capo claims that R.F. Kennedy weaponized the FBI against his father over Marilyn Monroe. Yeah, they were both having sex with her at the same time. The brothers, right? Both of them were. These crazy guys. Gunshots heard near the White House. Person was neutralized. Blast zones identified as Garden Grove chemical tank inches toward explosion. So this thing looks like it's going to blow up, they're saying. Now a New York City hotel maid makes more than a rookie cop or a firefighter, teachers. Something's wrong here. Why are we catering ourselves so much to these illegal aliens for when we never did that before? Because they want them to vote. Anti-Israel activist Mahmoud Khalil to appeal to U.S. Supreme Court in last bid before they deport Mahmoud. Blood relations. NYPD cops under fire for flashing symbols of New York City's most violent gang. So why are these cops flashing gang signs? Do you have possible gang members infiltrated into the police department, it looks like to me? And that won't be the only time that's happened. White House shooter identified. Here's Trump with the fake alien. Trump stuns internet with fake alien photo. All right, is this at Area 51? Doesn't even look like the chain is real. Like, it's obviously a fake photo. That's all I got for you guys. I hope you're doing well. Sorry, it's another 3.5 hours. There's not going to be any short shows anymore. We're talking about trying to save humanity from this thing. We got to get all the angles clear. What these people are talking about is the Internet of Nano-Bio things. Right? Biological banking. Everybody's DNA is encoded in these databases. That's what they're doing. They want to make it that you bank with your DNA profile. But they're going to make you think, oh, this is a new quantum system. It's got quantum technology involved. That's bullshit now. Now you know they're lying to you about why they never produced a quantum system when Charlie Ward lied to you all those years ago. Because the quantum system that they were coming out was, they first had to get you to give them all your DNA to get it. So the quantum system is a lie. The real quantum system is going to be that you're going to be using quantum computers that that you won't be able to hack into anybody's account because it's quantum banking. That it's a quantum computer. It's not quantum banking with your DNA. It's that everybody's account will be unhackable because the new system is quantum. It's using quantum technology, which is different. That doesn't require that you give your DNA to the government, though. That's what they're trying to couch it as, so that you can get this new system. That's bullshit. That's the lie they're telling. This is about the Internet of Nano things. This is about internet in your body, like we were saying in our original hypothesis. If you go all the way back to my quantum dot show, where I was talking about Bill Gates, quantum dot, luciferase, and all that shit, is that they have to get they have to get inside your body. And the way that they were doing it with Gates was saying, hey, you can use your body energy to mine Bitcoin, remember? And all you got to do is just put this little thing in your body that you won't even notice is there. And then you can use your activity data to mine Bitcoin. Remember that dig? Bioactivity data used to mine Bitcoin. Bill Gates even had a patent for it. Now you know why. So we've come full circle in this thing. We really have. We've come all the way full circle where you could see what they were doing. Why did they have to bring COVID out? Well, that was the way they were going to get everybody to put the nano in their body, right? And once we got everybody to take the vaccine, we had the nano in everybody. Now we can map out all of your DNA genomes and have it in a system where we have it all. That's really when they have it all, right? So these liars who came out like Ward and all these other guys promising you the quantum system, they weren't lying in a sense. They were only lying about one part of it, was that you were going to have to give up all your sovereignty, all of your DNA data to get that system. That's the way it was going to work. Not with a quantum computer that would be unhackable. That's the lie they told. It was about the Internet of Nano things. The Internet of Nano-Bio things. So friends, I hope you're well. I'm extremely tired. I hope that we've gotten to the end of sort of what the end game of this plan was that it was complete control. It was mapping out every person's entire genomic sequence so that they could create and clone us at will anytime they wanted and create any kind of hybrid human with all the abilities that they wanted for secret projects and super soldier projects, etc. That's what it looks like to me. That's why they're so interested in certain people's DNAs, right? That's why they hunt certain people's DNA and they watch certain people their whole lives. So friends, I hope you're well. I'm hoping that the message gets out. Really what they're looking for with these data centers is the Internet of Bio things, the Internet of Nano-Bio things. They want all your genetic data. So friends, this is your friend in New York, Ash. NPNP News, humbly signing off for now.